Chapter 1058. Go ahead and show off. I don't know where your confidence comes from. What do you plan to do in the future? Are you really not going back to the headquarters? You know, if there's any trouble in the future, I'm afraid you'll have to control the situation. Right now, Grandpa and the others think highly of you. To put it more bluntly, our relationship is only secondary. Your personality and character are secondary. The most important thing is still your strength and reputation among the martial artists in Jianghu. Who knows, maybe one day, when the matter of martial artists becomes known to the whole world, there will always be a time when you need to stand on the stage. Lin Jingwei said in a sincere tone. Chen Guang patted his shoulder. Don't worry about me. But then again, although you don't want to be a good fan for 3 generations, your mind is still quite clear. Why didn't I notice it before? I think you're quite suitable to take over your grandpa's position. Lin Jingwei shook his head violently. Forget it, it's too tiring. Forget it, up to you. Lin Jingwei thought for a while. His expression became especially serious. He said slowly, Brother Guang, let me tell you something. Grandpa and the rest really value you. If you're willing, you might be able to enter the center of power through different channels like Brother Bai. Brother Bai is now working at Tianjin Energy. On one hand, it's to train his ability. On the other hand, it's to enrich his resume. Sooner or later, he'll be on the path of turning from business to politics. In a sense, your starting point is even higher than his. Although the Guangdong headquarters is hidden in the dark and not as famous as other departments, it's a legitimate vice-ministerial organization. If you take this path, your resume will be firmer than Brother Bai's. Actually, among the young people of our generation, other than Brother Bai, there are at least 100 others who are climbing up the path planned by the old masters. This is called the 50 years 100 people plan within Grandpa and the rest. Your name was added last, but from what my Grandpa, Grandpa Jean, and Grandpa Jiang have said, your position is even higher than Brother Bai's. It might be a little hard for you to understand. Although we're not blood brothers, we're closer than blood brothers. But with your previous family relationship, there's no reason for you to be so valued. But I have to explain. Grandpa often said that governing a country is like cooking, and a real chef doesn't cook. However, in order to cook a good dish, the chef had to be in control of the overall situation, and only the junior chef would be in charge. A chef has to pay attention to every step of the cooking process. Are the ingredients fresh? Are the seasonings up to standard? Are the slices of meat or dishes cut out of the mound just right? Are the chef's stir-frying skills and control of the fire up to standard? A chef has to choose a cook to handle the ladle, a chopping block, pots, bowls, ladles, vegetables, carrots, pork, and beef. It was the same principle when it came to governing a country. Some people could only be ingredients, some could be a cook, and some could be a chef. The world was bustling, and mortals were food. They were molded into all kinds of dishes, and entered the cycle of the 5 grains in a days. From birth to death, they would not understand why they were born, and why they were living. Out of 1 million people, there would be a qualified cook. Out of 10 million people, and out of 100 million people, there would be a chef. Brother Guang, as for you, in the eyes of the elders, you are a chef who can carry the whole world with your own strength. They know everything about you, and what you're capable of. Your current achievements might seem like fleeting clouds in the eyes of ordinary people. Because modern information is too complicated, the brains of ordinary people are always limited. If they absorb too much useless information, it will replace the truly useful information. They will forget your achievements after reading them. But Grandpa and the others saw it, and remembered it in their hearts. They can be very selfish sometimes. Every family and race has their own plans. Strictly speaking, you are one of them, but also an outsider. But you are a person who is in between the inside and the outside. Your character is strong, and your talent is unprecedented. If they don't count on you, who do they count on? It's impossible to move 1 billion people forward with just a few families. The only way is to accept talents from all walks of life. Whether it's an insider or an outsider, those who need to be used have to be used, and those who need to be placed in positions should be placed there. No matter how selfish Grandpa and the others are, they have always been clear about these things. Even in the list of the 50-year 100-people plan, there are less than half of the people who are related to our families by blood. They treat others like this, let alone you, Brother Guang. They can't bear to part with your amazing talent, but they trust your character. But they also know that you are rebellious in your bones. Since they count on you, and they know that you won't be a subordinate, then they might as well let you be a superior. So, no matter how willful you are now, or how unconventional you are from time to time, Grandpa will always be willing to clean up after you. As for me, why have I treated you, Brother Guang, as a brother since the beginning of university? Actually, I should have gone abroad in my second year of university, but why can't I bear to leave? Brother Guang, this is all because of you. Although I, Lin Jingwei, live a clear life, I have no ambition. But Brother Guang, you are different. We are willing to let you be the leader. Whether you continue to play games with us in the dormitory today, or go out to explore in any other field, I feel very happy and satisfied following behind you. I saw Brother Guang's personality and potential much earlier than the grandfathers did. If you want to be a dragon, you must be a dragon among men. If you don't become a dragon, you will still be a lazy dragon. Brother Guang, from time to time. Do you also wonder why, with my identity, I am willing to stay in a place like Gokyo University for so many years? To put it bluntly, I don't want to take over. I want to live according to my own personality. In these 4 years, I have been very happy staying in this dormitory. I have been very happy with Brother Guang. I have been very satisfied with being with Xiong'er and Bai Nyangzi. I also can't bear to leave Gaoya. Since I can't bear to leave, I will definitely not leave. Grandpa often scolds me for being clear-headed, but always making stupid moves. He says that I have wasted my good brain, and that it is time for me to change my heart. Because I have the ability to do great things, but I lack the heart of a strong person. In the past, Brother Guang, you had the heart of a strong person. You were never moved by external things. This is your most precious characteristic. But you lack the ability to do great things. I originally planned to wait until after graduation. The two of us will work together and lead Xiong'er and Bai Nyangzi to explore the world happily. We will learn from each other's strengths and form a team. When the brothers are united, we will be able to cut through gold. But now, I have changed my mind. You have everything. You have the mentality, the ability, and everything you do is so awesome. I will follow behind you and eat and drink well. Haha, Brother Guang. Really, you can't escape whether you admit it or not. Chen Guang listened to Lin Jingwei's tireless narration. At first, he was very calm. He really didn't think so much and didn't particularly care about ruling a big country. When he first entered university as a rich second generation in middle school, he didn't see that he was much more extravagant than ordinary students. He didn't look down on others because of his family's wealth. He still laughed and played with others in class, happily eating and waiting to die. Later, his family collapsed. When he was extremely poor, he gritted his teeth and picked his feet to live. As a university student, he worked tirelessly every day to make car rentals online to support his family. It was very hard. He also envied others who could enjoy university life in peace. But he never doubted himself that he couldn't live like this. When he was at his lowest, he was bullied by Zhenghe. He didn't say a word of fear because of his family's wealth, nor did he lose his drive because he was poor. Now that he was rich, he still had 3 meals a day, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. He didn't seem to have 3 heads and 6 arms, and could walk in the sky. He didn't think that he was very cool. He was very sloppy, very normal, very casual, and very calm. There might be some changes in the way he treated people, but the thoughts deep in his heart had never changed. For example, when he met Guoming recently, it was because he respected him for fighting with Wang Ren. When they met, he would respectfully call him Mr. Gua. Gradually, he became familiar with him, and also called him Old Gua. He never looked down on him. When he met Hua Ling and Zhong Yu, 2 equally ordinary senior sisters, he was still so friendly. He didn't feel that his beautiful hair was also 100 million, just because he had a net worth of hundreds of millions. When he scratched Hua Ling's hair, he didn't feel unhappy at all. Instead, he was happy that others could treat him normally. He just felt that every friend like this was very rare, and should be especially cherished. Now that Lin Jingwei suddenly pointed it out, he suddenly looked back and realized that it was terrifying to think about it. So I'm so King strong? I'm so cool. It was quite amazing to think about it. With his net worth and status, he could be considered as starting from scratch among his peers in the country. He might not be as arrogant as being the first in the country, but at least no one in the top 10 would dare to gossip about him. But when he thought about it carefully, the King old man's heart actually had no feelings at all. If Lin Jingwei hadn't pointed it out, the old man wouldn't have realized it at all. This is not scientific. I was supposed to be a domineering, cool, and pretentious king. I've pretended so much, but why am I so calm? Forget it, it's not important. At this moment he was very touched. He didn't know Lin Jingwei's identity before, so he never carefully measured the friendship between them. Anyway, as a tortoise, as a mung bean, we like each other, we hit it off. What else can we be if not brothers? Later on, when he found out about Lin Jingwei's identity, he wasn't too moved. You're the son of the emperor, but in my eyes, you're Lin Jingwei. You're the son of a beggar, but in my eyes, you're still Lin Jingwei. It was that simple. But now, he realized that Lin Jingwei's brotherly love for him was so deep, and he held such a high position in his heart. He was a little excited, but also a little embarrassed. If he didn't know that this guy's sexual orientation was normal, he would have thought that he was gay. This was a confession. Chen Guang coughed lightly and said, "Ahem. All right, I know everything. You really don't have to worry. I understand. The matter at Tangshan factory won't be ruined. It looks like the future is bleak, but in fact I already have a comprehensive plan and layout. It's as stable as a dog. As for the other things, I'll give you a definite answer. I'm really not too interested. I just want to do things according to my own ideas. Of course, I'll definitely do good things. I might be able to do more things than being pushed to the forefront. In at least 3 months, at most half a year, I'll show you a great creation that can change the world. It'll be more practical than anything I've done before, and the effects will be more immediate. In addition, as for my personal image, it's actually not important. In any case, I've been muddling along the way to this point, so I shouldn't be any worse in the future. Besides, I don't plan to enter the list of 100 people in 50 years that you mention, because I feel that I can do more than everyone on that list combined. The 3 of you don't have to worry about anything. Just follow me. If I have a meal, you guys will lick the bottom of the pot." Lin Jingwei punched him in the chest. F***ck. I'll hammer your chest with my little fists. Then poor little Lin let out another scream. He clenched his hands and howled. "Damn, is your chest a steel plate? It hurts. Sorry for not recognizing you. Silver scale breastplate, $5 each. My bones are broken. I can't be your friend anymore. I don't need a prescription. It's an ancestral medical skill that specializes in treating injuries from falls. It's guaranteed to be healed. The price is fair. Go, go, go." After fooling around for a while, the 2 of them returned to their dorms to sleep. The 2 of them seemed to be quite insensitive. Half an hour ago, they were still talking about how governing a country was like cooking a small dish, but now they were sleeping like dead pigs. The next morning, while the 3 of them were still snoring thunderously, Chen Guang woke up early and went straight to Tianguang Agency. He planned to start blowing the horn for an Oscar. Chapter 1059. When the car was on the way and waiting for the red light, Chen Guang thought about what Lin Jingwei said last night. He couldn't help but laugh. Lin Jingwei hit himself really well. He really didn't find anything special about him before. Even after knowing his identity, his impression of him didn't change. But last night, this guy finally behaved like a child from a rich family. No matter what his personality was like, whether he was strong or not, the things he was influenced by since he was a child were different. His way of thinking was incomparable to that of ordinary children. Let my grandfather tell me that governing a big country is like cooking a small dish? I think in the end, he will definitely talk about cooking and how popular he was when he was a chef. Thinking of this, Chen Guang thought of his family's Chen Hot Pot restaurant that had closed down. When the business was at its peak, it was also crowded with people. The taste was incredible because of the unique skills that were passed down from his grandfather. The delicious unique skills of cooking hot pot ingredients that his father inherited from his grandfather were wasted. Thinking about it made him drool. He missed the taste of his father. Hey, isn't it the taste of his mother in other people's homes? Why is it the taste of his father in my home? Forget it, forget it. I'm thinking too far. Although some of the words last night were said by Lin Jingwei's mouth, he understood it himself. He didn't say it, but his heart was clearer than anyone else's. The reason why he said it yesterday, and didn't mention it before, was mainly because he was just an ordinary internet celebrity before. He didn't get involved in such a sensitive industry as environmental protection, and he didn't reach that level and position. Now that he felt that the time was ripe, he decided to be honest with her and tell her all these things. The most powerful thing was that this guy said so many things that he shouldn't have said, such as eating mortals, which was treacherous and shouldn't be mentioned to others. Although the words came out of his mouth, it was his grandfather who said them to him. But even so, the relationship between him and me still hasn't changed. This guy's ability to deal with problems and organize communication is really good. Now that he thought back to the past 3 years, the image of the Lin Jingwei of last night and the Lin Jingwei of the past could be completely overlapped. His way of doing things and philosophy were indeed several levels higher than that of ordinary people. Strong people could see his strength, but weak people would not be suppressed by his strength. They could still get along with each other like normal friends. Lin Jingwei was right. He did have the ability. The only thing he lacked was a heart that was greedy for power. Sometimes he even seemed weak. Of course, it wasn't just ability that determined a person's style, but also his will and character. These things were innate, and some were nurtured. Lin Jingwei's positioning of himself was very accurate. Chen Guang reflected on himself again. Alright, I admit that you flatter me. I also feel that my mentality is very good. Most importantly, I'm more handsome than you. The car started up, and Chen Guang and his Passat slowly moved forward. A person's life is like a car on the road. Some things can't come back once they're gone, and some things follow you along with your car. I want my car to become bigger and bigger, so that it can carry more and more people and things. The most important thing is that I can't screw up now. I can't die while paying my mortgage. It had actually been less than 2 weeks since he last came to the company. Everything in the company was running in an orderly manner. Everyone still had a lot of things to do, and no one was idle. The sudden appearance of Chen Guang didn't cause much of a commotion among the hundreds of people in the company. It had been a few months since Tianguang brokerage was established, and the employees were already used to his elusive appearance. Anyway, he either didn't do anything, or he would do something big. The things he had accumulated in the past were enough to digest for more than half a year. In other words, even if Chen Guang went overseas and found an island to live in seclusion, and from then on, Tianguang brokerage would only continue to develop many of the projects that Chen Guang had left behind. The people in the company would probably be busy for decades, and the scale would continue to expand. Just like many international companies, Disney or Coca-Cola had started from a small, insignificant idea and developed into today's giants. What Chen Guang had done wasn't a small idea. Of the 4 most outstanding contributions and achievements he had left behind, except for the photocatalyst that was still in its infancy, the other 3 were enough to support a company for 10 years. Not to mention that he still had the invincible racing god, the king of sword towers, the god of miniature sculpture, the ghost piano player, the king of darts, and the world's strongest arm strength. If he really wanted to develop them, each of them was a perfect entry point, and could even be extended to develop an entire industry chain. Chen Guang didn't have to do anything, but the 4 King Kong of Tianguang brokerage and the operations manager, who had no sense of existence, had to consider these things. Yu Hong and the others felt that their lives were much more tiring than Chu Zijin's. Although Chu Zijin had more cash flow now, she only needed to focus all her energy on high. My God! She just needed to keep pushing forward this one thing. However, if they wanted to be lazy, they could lie in their chairs comfortably and wait for Chen Guang's call and instructions. Once he made a decision and gave an order, they would work hard to complete it. This kind of person could become an ordinary employee. However, the four King Kong were not ordinary employees from the beginning. Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, and Su Li, who used to work for the Tang Jia Foundation, and Lu Xiaoliang, who had been recruited by Chen Guang through his relationship with the H-Pad, were all talents and had their own pursuits. As a result, when Chen Guang had nothing to do, they were busy as dogs. When Chen Guang came to work, they were as busy as dogs. Those who took the initiative to find trouble and could plan and push forward the whole industry chain were the real talents. However, this was not enough. Once they made a wrong decision, the company would suffer a great loss. Those who could not only make trouble, but also see through the appearance and see the essence in the mysterious market without making any mistakes, or even fewer mistakes, were the real talents. So far, Yu Hong was the best in this aspect. After all, he was an astute person who had never made any mistakes. Su Li was also very strong. There was no trifling matter in finances. He could always arrange everything properly, and he would be able to keep track of the flow of any sum of money like the back of his hand. Even his communications with the public security, judicial, and tax authorities were constantly maintained. Buttface and Fang Tianyu were not so good. The stain in their lives was that they had bought Bai Nyangzi's book about girls when they were buying the IP in bulk. Aside from the topic, The White Snake's Lousy Book, The Millionaire's Young Master's Poisonous and Spoiled Little Wife, Please Love Me 1001 More Times, has already stopped updating. It's only a matter of time before it's finished. It was not that he could not live with money. It was that he did not have any ideas in his head at that time. He had written a pile of sh*t, the kind that could fly to the sky at any time. But later, Chen Guang pulled the shoots to help them grow and forcibly created some popularity. So he held back and wrote for a long time. As he wrote for a long time, the sh*t in his head and book started to ferment. At first, it was just a stench, but now it had rushed out of the universe. The readers could not continue reading, and he could not continue writing. The plot collapsed from the Arctic Ocean to the Antarctic continent. Now he could not write a word, even if someone stabbed him with a knife. This money was completely fed to the dogs. Fortunately, it was not a lot. In addition, the operation manager of Tianguang Agency was relatively lousy. But there were no problems in the daily affairs of the company, such as hygiene, food, office supplies, contact with the property management, and so on. So, Chen Guang did not ask him about it. This old man also understood that the more capable you are, the more effort you put in. He knew that the internal power structure of the company had been completely formed, and he could not squeeze into the inner circle of Chen Guang. He did not ask for merit in the company, but he did not make mistakes. He was competent, but he did not want to get involved in more things. Chen Guang sat in the office for about 5 minutes. The 4 fund managers did not need him to call them, and they all took the initiative to come over. This time, he had done so many things in Tangshan City, and now he came back early before it was finished. There was only one explanation. He had a major decision. Looking at Chen Guang, who was sitting in the chair and pretending to be silent, Lu Xiaoliang thought of Yangxi's call to him 2 days ago, and his hair stood on end. What Brother Yang said, could it be true? Boss, you can't be serious, right? Although I know you never fail, the situation this time is a bit different. In the past, you only wanted the public's reputation, or the most straightforward competition. As long as you won, there would be no suspense or controversy. But you are secondary. It seems to be objective, but in fact, it is all the subjective judgment of the judges. I hope he is not thinking about this, right? Lu Xiaoliang looked at Fang Tianyu next to him anxiously. Last night, when the two of them went to the bar together, Comrade Xiao Lu couldn't help but say it out loud. As a result, Comrade Xiao Fang spat out the chivas in his mouth all over his face. The 4 fund managers each pulled out a chair and sat in front of Chen Guang's expensive mahogany desk. They watched him frown and tap his fingers to show off. Chen Guang was also secretly observing the state of the 4 people. He thought to himself, brothers as the old man's people, after being slapped in the face by the old man again and again, you should have learned your lesson, right? Last time, the old man also gave you a warning. You should have absolute confidence in me, right? But today, I am considerate of you and take care of your feelings. So, I will pretend to think about it. I will let you think that this is a major decision, made after careful consideration, and not a stupid idea that came out of nowhere. Look at how considerate I am as the boss. I really don't want to lecture you anymore. Anyway, it is not wrong to believe in the old man. When he was almost done, Chen Guang leaned down slightly and faced the four people. His face showed a determined expression that only appeared when he was making a decision. Everyone listen up. I have decided to fight for the Oscar for Best Actor. Although Lu Xiaoliang and Feng Tianyu had vaguely heard about this, they already had an idea. They had already experienced a headache before. But the previous news was not completely certain. Now that they finally heard this desperate news from Chen Guang's mouth, it was still a headache. What kind of boss did we follow? Why do you always act so out of the ordinary? Our lives are so tiring and stressful. If it wasn't for your high salary, I would have applied for a job at the adult products company next door. There are so many beautiful women in their company, and they are so bold. Chapter 1060. Well, Boss Chen, are you saying that we should start thinking of ways to contact famous European and American directors to film a Hollywood art film? Aim for the next Oscars? After all, there are only 3 months left for this year's Oscars. Yu Hong, who had been kept in the dark, asked tentatively. He thought that although Mr. Chen's path was a little wild, and his steps were a little too big, with the acting skills he had shown when he acted in dramas, as long as the script was suitable and the director was suitable, he could tailor an artistic film according to the current international situation and the mainstream values of Europe and the United States. There was a 10% chance of success. That was not low at all. Feng Tianyu and Lu Xiaoliang looked at each other in despair, and then looked at Yu as if he were a retard. The pitiful old Yu, who was mature and steady, would let out a blood-curdling scream in about 10 seconds. Su Li also said, according to the current financial situation of the company, it is feasible. The film for the Olympic Games is different from the ordinary Hollywood commercial films. It is more artistic. The investment can be controlled to less than 200 million yuan, which the company can afford. However, the box office and the income are not guaranteed. In addition, according to the current experience, the publicity and public relations expenses of a film for the Oscars should be more than $10 million, which is doomed to be a total loss. Even if the film wins the award, it will be impossible to recover in a short time. The lascivious duo looked at Su Li and had the same idea. Su Li, you are worrying too much. We don't need to invest in the film, not even a dime. The public relations expenses are inevitable, but the expenses of the film itself are the most important. Because our boss wants to use women to compete for the Olympic Games. Chen Guang listened to Yu Hong and Su Li's opinions first, and then looked at Feng Tianyu and Lu Xiaoliang, who looked as if they had eaten a fly. Don't you have anything to say? They wanted to say something, but they didn't want to betray Yang Shi, so they just shook their heads. Let's listen to your next plan first. Actually, we don't want to hear it. When Chen Guang saw their weird expressions, he knew that they already knew what was going on. He rolled his eyes secretly. Buttface, who was well informed, must have known about it and told Feng Tianyu about it. D*MN. You obviously don't believe in the old man's ability. Forget it. Old Yu and Su Li's performances were very reliable. Chen Guang looked at Yu Hong again, smiled and shook his head. No. Old Yu, I'm not going to shoot a new film. I'm going to use women to fight for the Olympic Games. Not the next one, but this one. Before the 31st of this month. We must complete the screening in America. F*CK. Comrade Old Yu cursed in disbelief. His eyeballs almost popped out of his eye sockets. Even he, who never showed his emotions, couldn't control himself. Comrade Xiao Lu and Feng Tianyu finally stopped pretending and expressed their stance. Lu Xiaoliang. That's ridiculous. The 31st is a week or so. And the key is that President Chen, as an actor, has no reputation overseas at all. Director Deng's status was also far behind. Women itself isn't some kind of deep film. What the hell? Fang Tianyu said. That's right. As the investment representative of the Tang Jia Foundation, I dealt with the Motion Picture Association quite a bit. The Oscars aren't as simple as they seem. You have the right time, the right place, and the right people. Boss, you have everything you want now. Chen Guang looked at Old Yu with a sorrowful face. I knew those two couldn't keep their cool. Old Yu, you're undermining me too. I'm very sad. If you want to use women to fight for the Olympic Games, it's not impossible. At this moment, Suli spoke again. To Chen Guang, it was like the sound of heaven. Chen Guang looked at him with a face full of joy. Fortunately, at least not all of his people were fools. There were still people who understood him. He looked at Suli's eyes brightly. Suli stopped writing and looked up at Chen Guang. But President Chen, we have to raise the budget for public relations and publicity to at least $200 million. Currently, the head office can't afford it. It's a bottomless pit. Chen Guang said. F***CK. You're not my 4 great generals, right? You're the 4 great generals. You're my 4 explosives experts, right? Boss, can I return the money? Can I change the deck of cards? Obviously not. I can't bear to do that. Chen Guang sighed. You guys, why don't you learn from your mistakes? Think about your past. And think about how Tianguang Talent Agency has come so far. I've already mentioned it last time. I've never failed in what I want to do. It's the same this time. I can't tell you how important this matter is to me. But I have to emphasize one thing. Compared to the past, my determination is stronger than ever. I have to get the Oscar next year. I won't allow anything to go wrong. As he spoke, his expression and tone became unprecedentedly serious. He really couldn't make a joke. In the past, he allowed himself to fail. After all, the price of failure was bearable. But this time, if he failed the Olympic Games, he would definitely die in 2 years. Although Yu Hong and the others still felt that it was inconceivable, Chen Guang was really too serious. The 4 of them were also elites in the workplace. They understood that as the boss, he had already shown his unquestionable determination. So work was work. Personal feelings had to be put aside for the time being. Chen Guang was very satisfied with the change in attitude of the 4 of them. He nodded. Let me first briefly explain where my confidence comes from. The positioning and concept of the film itself, as well as director Deng's influence both at home and abroad, have indeed caused women to be born with a disability. There's a huge gap between it and a normal Olympic Games film. But although the Oscars have always been criticized as the embodiment of political correctness in Europe and America, in fact, it's still an award for filmmakers. When the contribution and help of the film itself to the film industry is absolutely strong, even enough to suppress any other side effects, political correctness may lose the battle. So there's a lot of room for maneuverability in this matter. It's not completely impossible. You've seen my performance in the play Thunderstorm. Later, I'll ask Big Beard to send me a copy of the newly edited film sample. I think that with the acting skills that I've shown in the film, it's enough to represent the people in the film industry, especially the next generation of actors. My acting skills are beyond the times. This is the only advantage of women. What we need to do is to infinitely magnify the influence of my advantage, to the extent that it's enough to suppress all doubts. I'll also prepare as soon as possible, and strive to come up with a monograph that's enough to conquer all the people in the film industry before the official selection. It doesn't matter what the previous and future Oscars are. But this time, we need to use our own strength to make the Oscars not the Oscars for politicians, but the Oscars for filmmakers. As for the public relations fees that Suli mentioned, it doesn't matter even if it's really as high as $200 million. I'll find the money, no matter how much it is. Remember what I said, no matter the cost. Win the Oscars. Okay, that's the end of the discussion. From now on, the other matters of Tianguang brokerage will be put on hold. If it can't be put on hold, push forward with the least amount of manpower and resources. If it's really too busy, expand the scale of the company. Currently, 90% of the fighting power of the whole company will be transferred to this matter. Chen Guang waved his hand and set the tone for this matter. Finally, he said, Now each of you go back and think about it. Write a proposal in 3 hours. Write down the role that each of you will play in this matter, and what kind of specific matters you will be responsible for. Everyone, show me the attitude of a final battle, and don't allow anyone to drag me down. Also, don't allow anyone to question my decision again. If it's done well, apart from individual rewards, I'll give each of you an opportunity. I'm sure you all vaguely know that I'm now an inner strength martial artist, and I've long surpassed the scope of ordinary people. I'll personally use my power to recuperate the body of you, or the person that you want me to help. Gold is not as good as gold, so you guys have to work hard. Yu Hong and the other 3 people suddenly became spirited. Chen Guang's last promise could be said to have captured their biggest wish from the bottom of their hearts. Ever since Yu Hong started working, the years of high-intensity work had left many hidden injuries in his body. He had always been in a sub-healthy state, as if he could collapse at any time. Until now, he was still relying on his willpower to hold on. If what CEO Chen said was true, Fang Tianyu thought of his bedridden younger brother. Lu Xiaoyang and Su Li were also full of thoughts, but their blood was boiling. CEO Chen was right. How would we know that we'll definitely fail if we don't try? Moreover, his acting skills are really good, almost invincible. As his employees, how can we not have confidence? Even if we don't have confidence, since he has already made such an important decision, and it's not to be questioned, of course we can only follow him and charge forward. Even if we fail in the end, no, listen to him, we can't allow failure. He's right. The Oscars are essentially the Oscars for the filmmakers, not the Oscars for the politicians. Our family's CEO Chen's acting skills are so good. If he doesn't win the Best Actor award, even the heavens won't tolerate it. The 4 great generals buried their heads in their own offices, working hard on their proposals and plans. Chen Guang, who was as steady as a mountain in front of everyone, and was like the reincarnation of the victorious fighting Buddha, yawned and turned on his computer to browse Weibo. He looked at the number of fans in his private messages, and his eyes were glowing. On the contrary, he was not anxious at all. Leave the professional matters to the professionals. Anyway, even if I burn my brain, I won't be able to get any results in this aspect. What about the 4 great generals? Just lie down and use them. I don't believe that my carrot and stick can't move you. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the 4 great generals did not have time to eat. They promptly placed their respective reports in front of Chen Guang. Chen Guang, who had just burped, waved his hand and said, "You guys go eat first, I'll take a look at the report." After everyone left, he quickly browsed through the report. Yu Hong mainly wrote about how the company's internal resources were mobilized, how to coordinate the work, from funds to manpower, and all aspects were detailed. In just 3 hours, Yu Hong was able to come up with such a comprehensive plan, which was worthy of his identity as the head of the 4 great generals. Of course, there might be some loopholes and imperfections, but Master Guang could not understand it at the moment, and he did not need to understand it. Fang Tianyu, on the other hand, based on his own experience and business relationships in North America, sorted out the Oscar selection rules more comprehensively and had more detailed requirements for related films. In addition, he also used his personal connections to inquire about the list of qualified participants and detailed information. Lu Xiaoyang, on the other hand, analyzed the publicity strategies and details of the past 10 Oscar-winning films in 3 hours, and came up with a complete set of supporting publicity ideas. He even took out the performance art monograph that Chen Guang had just casually thrown out. In turn, he asked Chen Guang to come up with the monograph 2 days after the film was released in North America. Su Li, on the other hand, looked through all the plans of the previous 3 people, then used the last 15 minutes to complete the financial planning and made a more detailed and accurate estimate. The total publicity funding was as high as $40 million, 4 times the budget of an ordinary Olympic film. This was burning money, and it was almost a loss. But in such an absurd situation, if they wanted to succeed, they had to burn money. After the 4 of them quickly ate Chinese food in half an hour and returned to the office, Chen Guang slapped the table. Very good. Your plans are all very good. Let's go now. Tonight Feng Tianyu Lu Xiaoliang, and I will go to America. When night fell, Iron Wing soared into the sky with the last rays of the setting sun. The Boeing 787 held its head high, let out a deafening roar, and brought the three of them straight to Los Angeles. At the same time, the rising superstar of the domestic culture and entertainment industry, with more than 100 employees, the company's cash flow of nearly $300 million, a valuation of nearly $3 billion, and a total company value of nearly $10 billion. Such a behemoth like the Tianguang Group set off like a mighty and huge chariot. Target Los Angeles. Target Oscar. Target. Survive. Chapter 1061. About 20 hours later, Chen Guang and the other two arrived in Los Angeles. It was 10 in the morning there. As soon as the three of them got off the plane, they went straight to the local hotel with the reception staff of the Tang Jie Foundation. They had a good sleep to adjust their biological clock. Chen Guang was Superman, but the other two main combatants, Feng Tianyu and Lu Xiaoliang, were ordinary people. They stayed at the Flemington Hotel, which was next to the American Film Institute's headquarters. It was a famous hotel in America, and many celebrities would choose to stay there when they came to California. They could reach the Hollywood Wuxia Theater, which was located at the heart of the Walk of Fame, in about 15 minutes. It was a historic movie theater, adjacent to the Truman Theater. It was a landmark in Los Angeles, Hollywood, and even the United States. The theater had hosted the Oscars many times, as well as other important conferences. It had a very important historical significance, and it was also a tourist attraction and cultural temple in Los Angeles. There was a cement wall made of handprints in the square outside the movie theater's main entrance. Since decades ago, whenever there was a major event, the founder of the movie theater, the Jostein family, would invite celebrities to leave their handprints and gilded names on the wall. So far, the people who could leave their personal marks on the wall included presidents, big shots in the business and scientific fields, and more famous celebrities in the entertainment and cultural fields. Due to the changes in the market economy, in recent years, in order to coordinate with the publicity, or perhaps because of the consideration of benefits, the selection criteria for the handprint wall had become less strict, even causing a lot of controversy. However, no one could deny that it was an honor that no celebrity in the world could ignore. To Chen Guang, the best news was related to the Hollywood Wuxia Theater. With Tang Xiaokai and Big Beard Deng's help, the American premiere of Women, a movie with a weak foundation, was held in this cultural mecca. Holding the premiere at the Wuxia Theater would, of course, have a mysterious effect on Women, which was originally from China. Regardless of the quality of my movie, I'll hold the premiere at the Hollywood Wuxia Theater, just like many Oscar-winning movies. I'll raise my status and level first. That's how shameless I am. What can you do to me? The world premiere was set on December 25th, which was Christmas Day. This festival was quite popular in China. In Europe and the United States, it was as important as the first day of Chinese New Year. Only the heavens knew how much favor Tang Xiaokai and Big Beard Deng had done for them to be able to cut the queue for this day. As the founder of Hollywood's Wuxia Theater, the Jostein family currently held the largest share in the cinema chain company. The rest of the shares were controlled by various parties, but they had almost no control over the local funds in Wuxia. The name of the theater had nothing to do with the Chinese. It was purely because the founder and his partner wanted to build a landmark building and cultural industry in Los Angeles that was full of the charm of Eastern culture. In terms of capital, Hollywood's Wuxia Theater was only controlled by the Tang Jie Foundation through multiple layers of control. They held less than 0.15% of the shares of the cinema chain company and had no influence on the decision-making level. They were only selling Tang Jiefun's reputation on Wall Street. Tang Xiaokai had given Chen Guang enough face. There was no need for him to come. But in order to carry out this matter, he had even arrived in Los Angeles a day earlier to hold the fort. But at this moment he was angry and embarrassed. Tang Xiaokai suppressed his anger, and sat in the office of the Josh Stein family's current leader, the general manager of the Wuxia Theater, Donald Josh Stein. He looked at the silver-haired old man in his 50s with a straight face. Donald Josh Stein wore a well-ironed suit with his combed, silvery hair that looked like a waterfall. Perhaps it was because he had been keeping a straight face for many years, but the cheeks on his slightly plump face drooped and protruded. Judging from his appearance, he was a stubborn old man who didn't like to think for others. Tang Xiaokai took a deep breath and slowly said, "Mr. Josh Stein, this is different from what we originally agreed on. Even if I can't get the number 1 screening room, you can't possibly arrange the number 14 screening room for me, right? It'll be hard for me to answer to my friend if you do this." Donald Josh Stein was expressionless as well. He shrugged slightly, which was almost invisible to the naked eye. "Mr. Tang, I understand that you want to help your friend. That's why I originally arranged the number 7 screening room for this movie from China. But I had no choice. Just 2 nights ago, my friend of many years, Mr. Diaz, personally called me. His friend is a famous old professor from Wesleyan University, who has a lot of works. He also needs my number 7 screening room. You know, whether it's Mr. Diaz or Wesleyan University, I have to respect their request. So I can only let you and your friend down, Mr. Tang." When Tang Xiaokai heard that, he knew that the reason given by Donald Josh Stein was irrefutable. This was not China, after all, it was the Americans' territory. Moreover, Donald Josh Stein's status in the film industry was not something that he and Big Beard Ding could compare to. But you can't put it in such a remote location like number 14 screening room, right? This is simply. Donald quickly waved his hand. "Mr. Tang, all the screening rooms from number 1 to number 12 have been booked. You know, it's Christmas. Just like the Chinese New Year movies, many people want to show their movies on this day. As for my Wuxia Theater, there are even more people who want to hold the premiere here. Number 13 screening room is empty. But do you need me to change it for your friend? I know you Chinese don't care about this number." Tang Xiaokai's face turned gloomy. Chen Guang wanted the Oscars. He did not have to worry about it in China at all. With a few months of publicity and the influence of the film's main production team, there was no doubt that the box office would reach the top on the day of the premiere. However, in Europe and America, a movie that was competing for the Oscars was being premiered in number 13 screening room. What was this? Was this a joke? If the media reported it as a joke, people would have to avoid mentioning the name of the movie and change it to the unknown movie that premiered in number 13 screening room. "Mr. Josh Dan, please don't joke with me." Tang Xiaokai was, after all, a person who could call the shots on Wall Street. Although Donald Josh Dan was influential in the film industry, he could not compare to Tang Xiaokai in terms of status. Tang Xiaokai's words were equivalent to expressing his bottom line. Donald was used to flaunting his seniority, and he believed that he understood Chinese people. He did not have much contact with Tang Xiaokai in the past, so he treated him as an ordinary gentle and reserved Chinese person. Now he realized that he had made a joke. Donald's face changed slightly. "Mr. Tang, you misunderstood me. I was just joking. Please don't mind it." Tang Xiaokai saw that Donald's tone had softened, and his expression softened a little. "The matter of number 14 screening room has been decided. Thank you for helping me and my friend. However, there's another matter." Donald immediately shook his head. "Mr. Tang, please don't make things difficult for me. All these years, I have brought a lot of negative influence to the theater, because I agreed to someone's request to leave a fingerprint on the wall. I know that Mr. Chen's goal is to fight for the Oscars. If he can really do it, he will be the first Chinese to win the Oscars. It is indeed historic. However, Mr. Tang, do you think that's realistic? Although I, Donald, am only the owner of a theater, I have many friends in the Film Academy. I am very familiar with the rules of the Oscars. Therefore, I can tell you clearly that it's impossible. I admit that Mr. Chen has a certain level of fame in the world, but his past achievements have nothing to do with the art of film. I recognize his great contribution to the aviation industry. A hero is worthy of respect, but that's not enough. His nature is no different from those online anchors who became famous on YouTube. His social status and artistic achievements are far from being worthy of leaving his name on the wall. Tang Xiaokai slammed the table. Even the world's #1 language master is not worthy. Don't you know how high his status is in the language world now? That's meaningless. This has nothing to do with film or art. His achievements in arm strength and darts have nothing to do with art. Tang Xiaokai stared at him. Then his achievements in the piano, the greatest piano artist in human history, have nothing to do with art? Donald was still stubborn. Mr. Tang, you might be mistaken. He's only a piano craftsman, not an artist. I don't deny that his piano performance is very perfect. Even my granddaughter's school uses his videos and recordings as standard teaching materials. However, until now, he has never really created anything other than playing other people's songs. What he plays is, in a sense, like a CD. That's all. You're being unreasonable. You're twisting words and forcing logic. He restored the real Mozart, Tchaikovsky, and Beethoven. His performance is the closest to the original, allowing people to travel hundreds of years to hear the real performance of those masters. Isn't that an artistic achievement? Donald couldn't help but sneer. Where's the evidence? Mr. Tang, there is still a lot of debate in the piano world about the problem you mentioned. Most of the people who support him are the friends of the people who lost to him in the competition. God knows how many benefits these people have received from him. Mr. Tang, you might not know much about the art world, but they're about to fight. Before Tang Xiaokai could continue, Donald spoke again. Mr. Tang, I'll admit it. The fundamental reason is that I personally hate him, because of my personal feelings. I don't care what achievements he has in other fields. I'm not even interested in watching the digital source of the movie you sent. I can't accept his behavior at all. A person who's appeared on the screen for the first time, and hasn't even acted in a TV series, is delusional enough to want to win an Oscar. He even used your personal connections to force me, just to fulfill the rigid requirement of releasing the movie before December 31st. Chapter 1062. He's basically insulting me. He's insulting all of Hollywood. He's insulting all the filmmakers in the world. This was a decision he had made in a hurry. He's fooling around. I've also seen his past deeds. He's arrogant, rude, and condescending. I had nothing to do with him in the past, and I didn't care what kind of person he was. But now, he's extending his evil claws to the film industry that I've worked hard for all my life. You don't know how angry I am. I admit that I've agreed to the Wuxia people leaving their names on the handprint wall out of business considerations. But not right, Chun. No matter how much money I have, I can't leave such a stain on my life that I can't get rid of. Tang Xiaokai looked at the old man who looked like an enraged lion. He really couldn't do anything to him. After a few minutes, the old man calmed down a little and shook his head repeatedly. I'm sorry, Mr. Tang. I lost my composure, but I sincerely hope that you can understand that it is out of deep consideration that I have refused your request. Even if you have a close relationship with the other 2 or 3 shareholders of the Wuxia Theater, at least for now, the Joshdan family still has the final say in this theater, right? Tang Xiaokai rubbed his wrinkled eyebrows. All right. But Mr. Joshdan, you'll definitely regret it in the future. You actually don't understand Chen Guang at all. You should watch the movie first before making a decision. Donald shook his head. There's no need for that. I know the standard of the Wuxia film industry very well. If the director was Ong Li, I would watch it, but it's not. Of course, to maintain our friendship, even if it's Theater 14, I'll specially allocate a publicity platform for you guys. It won't be smaller than the others, and it'll be convenient for you guys to walk the red carpet and hold the premiere. I've really tried my best. Tang Xiaokai finally heard some good news. That's it then. But I still insist on my point of view. You'll definitely regret it. Donald smiled. I also insist on my own point of view. If I really regret it, I'll only wear a tie and plaid underwear and run 1 round around the Wuxia Theater. When the time comes, I will invite a reporter from the New York Times to take a special photo of you. When Chen Guang appears on the cover of Time magazine as an Oscar winner, Your photo will be on the left and right of his feet. Haha, no problem. I won't sue you for infringing on my portrait rights. I can even sign an authorization document right now. Tang Xiaokai made a very rude joke before he left, but Donna did not take it seriously at all. Tang Xiaokai didn't take a car. Instead, he walked to the Flemington Hotel, followed by 10 armed bodyguards in black. Along the way, he was thinking about how he should explain this awkward situation to Chen Guang. Theater 14 could only accommodate 150 people. Although it was also an IMAX giant screen, it was embarrassing that the world premiere was held in such a remote and small theater. Although many other cinemas had been settled, their statuses were not the same. Also, because of the haste, the preparation time was too short, and it was Christmas today. They really couldn't invite many celebrities to support them. It would be very awkward when the time came. Thinking about it carefully, the promotion platform that Don had promised was also a scam. I don't have many people. How can I walk the red carpet with my head? The more he thought about that old man's face, the more he hated it. Forget it, anyway. The hard conditions for the Oscars had been met. The thing that Chen Guang asked him to do was to help him get it released before December 31st. According to him, it wouldn't matter even if he found a small commercial theater in any corner of Los Angeles to play it. Since he could find the Wuxia Theater in Hollywood, he had done a good job as a friend. He would leave the rest of the matter to him. According to Yu Hong, he had almost stopped all other businesses in Tianguang Group, and was even prepared to spend almost 90% of the company's liquidity on this. That was $40 million US. Just how crazy was this guy? Tang Xiaokai felt that he couldn't understand Chen Guang's crazy way of doing things, but he was in no position to stop him. It was because he couldn't understand it that he couldn't give any practical advice. In addition, he had a lot of things to do. It was enough for him to spend 2 or 3 days to help sue Quebec. As for the promotion and marketing, he could send some people to help him. Tang Xiaokai knew Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, and Su Li very well, so he didn't worry that Chen Guang had no people to help him. It was said that Fang Tianyu had found a close friend called Buttface. Since the two of them could be together, Buttface must be quite capable. When Tang Xiaokai arrived at the hotel, Chen Guang and the other 2 people had just stayed there for less than 15 minutes. Mr. Tang, Mr. Chen, and the other 2 people have just fallen asleep. Do you need me to wake them up? The receptionist arranged by Tang Xiaokai had just accompanied Chen Guang and the other 2 people from the airport to this hotel, so he was quite familiar with the situation. Tang Xiaokai waved his hand. No, I'll go to my room first. I need to deal with some company affairs. When he was talking, he saw a figure walking out of the hall in the distance. It was Chen Guang. Yo, Xiaokai. Long time no see. Chen Guang's eyes were sharper than Tang Xiaokai's, so he greeted him from a distance. Tang Xiaokai walked up to him with a smile and whispered in Chen Guang's ear. What? Brother-in-law, don't you want to take a rest? Chen Guang waved his hand. I don't need to rest. I'll sleep when it gets dark. Wait, what did you call me just now? Tang Xiaokai smiled and continued to say sneakily, brother-in-law. Chen Guang jumped back. *T, don't talk nonsense. Be careful, or your sister will strangle you to death. You don't know, do you? Last week, I went to Moorlands to meet my sister. She was crazy. She talked about you every time she opened her mouth. From your charisma to your genetic arrangement. I even suspect that she is preparing to give birth to your child. Chen Guang. Pfft. Genetic arrangement, my ass. Give birth to a child, my ass. Wait, Tang Ying is analyzing my genetic arrangement now? Last time I shot it at her. Ah, go. Chen Guang couldn't help but think that if a simple genetic analysis couldn't satisfy her scientific ideals, with Tang Ying's previous performance as a medical maniac, she might really do something crazy like combining 2 people's chromosomes. She would definitely want to study the changes that would happen after her genes intersect with an ordinary person's to give birth to an embryo. Bastard! You won't even let your own child go. Thinking of this, Chen Guang couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine. Let's not talk about your sister first. Just call me Chen Guang. You're older than me anyway. Oh right, how's my matter this time? I'm sorry for troubling you. You're so busy every day. Tang Xiaokai waved his hand. It's fine, it's fine. Brother-in-law's business. I have to take care of it. My sister also said that she is working with Morelands and Gokyo University to set up a research institute to study your genes. This is probably the most high-end pregnancy preparation plan I've ever seen. Chen Guang, who had just sat down and took a sip of his tea, almost spat it all over Tang Xiaokai's face. Pregnancy preparation, your head. Stop talking nonsense. Why didn't I hear it like this? She already talked to me about the research institute before she came to America. She wants to do research on genetic medicine, but it's not just my genes. Isn't that a joke? I'm begging you, I'm in a mess right now. Don't go off topic. Tang Xiaokai stopped joking. Alright, let's get back to the main topic. But don't be angry at me. I've settled the matter of the screening for you. I've found a medium-sized distribution company, and my Tang Jie Foundation has a leading position. In addition, Deng Xiaojiang and I went through some channels to get the approval from the Copyright Office, so it was approved very quickly. As for the cinema, almost every major city in America has a simultaneous screening. It's through my distribution company, so there's no problem with that. Chen Guang nodded and gave a thumbs up. Well done. Tang Xiaokai shook his head. Don't be too happy. It's only been 5 to 6 days since you informed me. With my capabilities, I can only do so much. Although I suddenly cut the queue and managed to get into the cinema screening, the initial publicity is basically zero. Although I've already spent a few million USD to pave the way for you, it's just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. The time is too short, and the movie still doesn't have any influence in America. If you want to create an effect in just a few days, the publicity fees will probably be in the hundreds of millions. This is too much. Chen Guang waved his hand. It's fine. Thanks for the trouble. I'll pay you back later. Tang Xiaokai shook his head. No need. This is my personal money. Just treat it as me buying fewer cars this year. But there's a problem that's quite awkward. The premiere theater I contacted for you is called Hollywood Wuxia Theater. Chen Guang's eyes lit up. I know. I just looked it up on the internet. Not bad, young man. You're awesome. Tang Xiaokai sighed. The Wuxia Theater is awesome, but the problem is that I only got the last place, the most secluded theater, number 14. It can only hold 150 people. Number 14? Dying? That's not auspicious. What else? There's only 13 left. Damn. That's even more inauspicious. That's why the premiere of Women will probably be the ugliest premiere in history. Chen Guang shook his head. That won't be the case. There was a movie called Baby, Did You Have Breakfast Today? The premiere was held in my hometown's county cinema. Tang Xiaokai stared at him. Damn. You're too easily satisfied. You're Chen Guang. You should be more ambitious. Sigh. Your intentions are too obvious. I'm even worried that you've aroused the resentment of the people in the film industry. You originally had the chance to get number 7 theater, but the person in charge of the Wuxia Theater, Donald Jostein, is unhappy with you. So the deal didn't go through. I originally wanted you to leave your name on the handprint wall, but it failed. Chen Guang shook his head nonchalantly. It's impossible for my intentions not to be obvious. Normal people wouldn't be like me and suddenly decide to try for the Olympic Games. It's understandable. Chapter 1063. You're quite open-minded. Oh, there's another problem. What is it? Logically speaking, we should get some celebrities to help promote the premiere. I've tried contacting many people before, but it was too rushed. But this was too hasty. Those with status had other plans for Christmas. Otherwise, even if it was an important family gathering, they would not be able to attend. Those who are willing to fly to Los Angeles at such an important time are not big enough. I thought it would be pointless to come, so I didn't ask them. So, Chen Guang suddenly understood. He remembered that Deng Xiaojiang had told him about the premiere in Wuxia yesterday. It was a gathering of heroes. Other than the main cast members, there were at least 20 to 30 A-list and A-list celebrities. Celebrities, politicians, and business tycoons from all walks of life could fill up half the seats in the screening hall in Yanjing. All the major media outlets were fighting for a ticket. Looking back at his side, it was like the difference between Manhattan and Chinjiagu. The scene was collapsing. Forget it. Of course it's not your fault. After all, we didn't have the intention to release it globally at the beginning. I've also disrupted Big Beard's overall plan. If Tianguang Group hadn't become the major shareholder of the movie, Big Beard wouldn't have been able to change my mind. He wouldn't have gone crazy with me like this. As for whether the premiere looks miserable or not, it doesn't matter. The Oscars are about the art of the movie. This is my core advantage. I'm confident in this. Tang Xiaokai nodded. I know you're not short of money. You can earn a lot of money now. What you really care about is not the box office. But if the box office performance is too miserable, I'm afraid it will affect your next step in the Olympic Games. It's fine here in Los Angeles. With the budget you've taken out, your promotion will be everywhere tomorrow morning. But it'll be too late for other cities. The most likely situation will be that, other than here in Los Angeles, your women can only have a 3-day tour in many other cities. This is very disadvantageous. Although only a small group of people are voting, the overall box office and reputation of the movie are extremely important. This will sway other people's opinions. What if the film critics don't even have time to watch your movie and take it off the screen? Chen Guang shrugged. There's nothing we can do about it. What's done is done. We'll just have to take it one step at a time. We can't hold back our urine. Let's go to the Hollywood Wuxia Theater. I want to see how awesome this place is. Tang Xiaokai stood up as well. I don't even know where your determination comes from. Chen Guang turned around and smiled meaningfully. This is a matter of life and death. I can't be careless. I don't have a way out. Tang Xiaokai didn't know what was going on. He followed behind and asked, Is it that serious? Chen Guang nodded. It's that serious. The two of them strolled all the way to the entrance of the Wuxia Theater and looked inside from afar. It was Friday afternoon, and it was still working hours, but the place was bustling with people. Chen Guang put his hands behind his back and stood under the handprint wall. He looked across the long square and sighed. It's quite extravagant. Tang Xiaokai nodded. But the more extravagant it looks, the more awkward your situation will be during the premiere next Monday. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the premiere at all. You don't even know how I can turn things around. I'll bet $5 that you've never seen a heroine before. Tang Xiaokai's face turned red. Needless to say, Chen Guang had guessed correctly. Actually, he had never seen Chen Guang acting cool before Donut. His confidence in Chen Guang was only because of what Chen Guang had done in the past, and how decisive Chen Guang was this time. Thus, he subconsciously made a judgment in his heart. Of course, he had been exceptionally arrogant and confident in front of Donut previously. That was also because he couldn't afford to lose even if he lost. A young talent on Wall Street had to have such an imposing manner. I'm too busy. Sorry. F***CK, you really haven't seen it before. Humph humph. Speaking of which, cult leader Huang can leave his name on the handprint wall, but he doesn't even let me. That's a little stingy. Chen Guang pointed at a name that was a mixture of English and Chinese. It was student Xiaoming. Tang Xiaokai shrugged. He's an A-list male star in the country, all right? He's been popular for many years. As the two of them were chatting idly, a fat figure walked down from the stairs at the entrance of the Wuxia Theater. Chen Guang followed Tang Xiaokai's gaze and looked over. There was a tall and handsome brown-haired white man beside the fat white-haired old man. The fat old man was chatting with him with a mocking smile on his face. The brown-haired white man nodded repeatedly. There was a hint of disdain in his eyes and the corners of his mouth. The two of them laughed as they walked. After taking 2 steps, they looked up and saw Tang Xiaokai and Chen Guang not far away. Tang Xiaokai did not intend to let Chen Guang and Donald meet. In his opinion, the two of them were not the kind of people who could easily get along with others, especially when the two of them had yet to meet, but they had already crossed swords here. Donald could not stand Chen Guang because of his own reasons. Although Chen Guang did not say anything, it was impossible for him to not feel anything after being thrown into Theater 14 and refused to leave his name on the handprint wall. Once the two of them met, It would be like Mars colliding with Earth. Not only would it not improve the situation, but it would also make things worse. However, as the saying went, whatever you fear will happen. This old man is the general manager of the Wuxia Theater, Donald Josh Dan, right? Chen Guang said in Mandarin without turning his head. Tang Xiaokai nodded and said helplessly, "It's him." One tall and one short, one old and one middle-aged, one fat and one thin, and the brown-haired, middle-aged handsome Caucasian man walked closer to each other. Donald put away the smile on his face and put on a business-like look. "Mr. Tang, this is Mr. Chen Guang, the male lead and investor of women?" Before Tang Xiaokai could answer, Chen Guang said with his hands behind his back, "That's me, Mr. Donald." Donald's face turned cold. Although he did not like Chen Guang, how could he not know that Chen Guang was a master of all languages? How could he not know the difference between an American surname and a first name? This guy had obviously called him by the wrong name on purpose. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Guang." He gritted his teeth and returned the favor. Chen Guang pretended to be enlightened. "Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Josh Dan." Tang Xiaokai turned his face away quietly. He had wanted to try and smooth things over, but fortunately, he did not overestimate himself. How was he supposed to smooth things over? He felt that they should just fight in the ancient Roman Colosseum. "Sigh, I hope they don't really fight. Otherwise Donald might die." Although Donald did not like Chen Guang, he knew that there was no need to offend him too much. He would wait for Chen Guang to change his words, and he would change his words as well. "Mr. Chen, forgive me for being presumptuous, but I heard that you want to participate in this year's Oscars. Is that true? Or is it just a beautiful coincidence that you're trying so hard to get your movie released on Christmas Day?" Chen Guang nodded and smiled. "Mr. Josh Dan, I know that in your heart, the Chinese are usually humble and polite. Even if I really had such a plan, I should be very humble and tell you that I don't have such unrealistic thoughts. But I'm sorry, I'm a very honest person, and I say whatever I want to say. You're right, I'm indeed here for the Oscars." Chen Guang had thought it through. Regardless of whether he admitted it or not, the people in the Western film industry were not fools. How could they not understand his intentions when they were so obvious? He would not be able to get more points if he continued to hide it. So he might as well admit it directly and tell everyone in the American Film Institute that he, Chen Guang, was here for the Oscars. Donald Josh Dan did not seem surprised by his answer. His old face trembled slightly. "It's exactly as I thought. You're as arrogant as the rumors and what you've shown on the internet." Chen Guang cupped his hands. "Sorry for the disrespect. In China, this is called having a card up your sleeve and not fighting a battle unprepared. I was a little ashamed when I moved you guys from Hall 7 to Hall 14, but I'm completely at ease now. I even regret agreeing to your request to screen your movie in the Wuxia Theater." Chen Guang was not angry. "No, this will be your honor in the future, Mr. Josh Dan. You might even witness the birth of a new era in the film industry. I would also like to thank you, Mr. Josh Dan. I'm honored to be able to hold the world premiere in your theater, even if it's only Hall 14. Donald Josh Dan knew that he had always been criticized by the people in the industry for his bad temper and being difficult to deal with. However, he suddenly felt that Chen Guang was even more despicable than people like him. He was obviously certain that he had signed the contract, and he was not willing to pay the price of going back on his word. That's right, he's here to humiliate me and the North American film industry. I really feel sorry for myself. I shouldn't have given face to the Tang Jia Foundation a few days ago. Mr. Tang, can you communicate with your friend? He's too difficult to communicate with." Donald turned his attention to Tang Xiaokai. He really did not want to chat with Chen Guang anymore. Tang Xiaokai was secretly laughing so hard that his stomach hurt. Chen Guang was ruthless. He knew that the other party was regretting it, yet he still thanked him. This was worse than scolding him directly. This guy scolded and exposed people's shortcomings without using any vulgarities. Why didn't he realize that he was so black-bellied in the past? Tang Xiaokai held back his laughter and coughed. "Mr. Josh Dan, my friend Chen Guang is very polite. Is there anything wrong with what he said?" Josh Dang could not take it anymore and decided to leave. He turned to the brown-haired middle-aged man beside him and said, "William, I have something to attend to. I'll leave first. Talk to you another day." He did not even want to say goodbye. He had already lost his last bit of courtesy. After taking 2 steps, he held back his temper and turned back. "Mr. Chen, I wish you a great premiere." Chapter 1064. He made up his mind. Originally, he had only planned to give the premiere of Women the same scale as the other movies. But the day after tomorrow, he would slightly shrink the space for the others. He would give them the widest red carpet, the largest screen, and even 1/5 of the handprint wall square. At that time, the more space you take up, the more empty your booths and red carpet will look. Shameful Chinese. I will make you the biggest joke of Christmas. I will make people laugh at you in the newspapers and media. The world premiere of the desolate 14th screening hall. I have to let you know that what you do in China will not work here. After Donald walked far away, the tall and handsome brown-haired white man did not leave. Instead, he looked back at Chen Guang with great interest and said, "You were talking too fast just now. I couldn't even get a word in. Let me introduce myself, William Jones." Chen Guang did not know who this person was, but Tang Xiaokai immediately remembered and introduced him to Chen Guang. "Chen Guang, this is the male lead of the Sunshine Man, William Jones. He is one of the hot favorites for this year's Oscars." Chen Guang was suddenly interested and was about to speak, but William Jones' face suddenly fell. "Mr. Chen, no matter whether I win the award or not, I sincerely hope that I will not see you at the award ceremony. Otherwise, I will think that it is a mockery and humiliation to me. Goodbye. Oh no, it would be best if we never see each other again." After he finished speaking, he followed Donald's example and turned to leave without hesitation. Chen Guang felt that he might be afraid of being beaten to death here. Damn it, the old man had been beating the geese all day long, but now he was being pecked in the eye by the geese. The old man was the king of acting tough, but now he was being bullied by a pretentious guy. "Don't stop me. I will beat the hell out of you." "Calm down. Brother Guang, calm down. Weren't you very black-bellied just now? You can't lose your cool. I don't care how good your acting skills are, but you can't have any negative news about you. Otherwise it will blow up." In the end, Chen Guang was stopped by Tang Xiaokai. Tang Xiaokai was right. This trip to the United States had brought countless black marks. It didn't matter if he didn't have any desires, but what he wanted was to be recognized by the American Film Association and become the new best actor. At that time, the negative news would be too strong, and he would be publicized as a violent maniac. He would be feared like a tiger, and he wouldn't even be able to enter other people's doors. He wouldn't even be able to see them. How would he be able to communicate with others and bribe them to his side? Forget it, there's no use beating him up anyway. Damn it. Not only do I have to appear in front of him at the award ceremony, I also have to snatch the trophy from his hands. I'll piss you off to death. Chen Guang forcefully found a reason for himself to let the other party go. He was very domineering. The two of them stormed back to the Flemington Hotel. Tang Xiaokai couldn't stay here anymore. He excused himself to Chen Guang and left. Before he left, he gave Chen Guang a bargaining chip. "I know you're determined to win an Oscar. To be honest, before you came here, I got some hints from some people. Many people think that it's not a bad thing if you really win an Oscar. Actually, I have a budget specially prepared for you. If your company can't hold on any longer, you can let me know." Then Chen Guang said, "I can't hold on any longer. Take it out quickly. It would be a waste not to take it." Tang Xiaokai turned around and ran, completely lacking the demeanor of a Wall Street elite. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone as shameless as this. "You've only spent a little of the $40 million you prepared, and you still have the nerve to ask me for money? What a drug dealer." At around 1 in the afternoon, Fang Tianyu and Lu Xiaoyang both woke up. Of course, the two of them hadn't slept enough, but since they had to adjust their biological clocks, they couldn't get enough sleep during the day. The rest earlier was just to adjust their working state. The two of them first went to Chen Guang's room to report, and then went out to busy themselves. Chen Guang locked himself in his room to write a book. That's right, his new book was called World School Performing Arts. It was very simple, straightforward, and shameless. He even came up with a subtitle. Shocking. The truth 7 billion people want to know. There's a fourth type of acting in the world that completely surpasses experiential, methodological, and expressive types. You're not earthling if you don't watch. Calculating the time, Chen Guang had to come up with a full set of theoretical knowledge and practical learning and application framework in 5 days. The workload was quite heavy, since his arrival had already caused conflict in the European and American industries in advance. There was no doubt that as the publicity continued, he would become more and more conspicuous and hated. However, there was no turning back. He couldn't give up the publicity plan just because he was afraid. Otherwise, the movie would be a complete flop in North America. It would have a 3-day theatrical run, and not many people would have seen it. What should he do? The senior members of the American Film Institute, who had voting rights, had never been to the cinema before. They had never heard of it. How was he going to convince them? Knock on the door of every house with a Blu-ray disc, tie people to a chair, and force them to watch it? All right, even though I have this plan, there can't be too many people. I can handle 1, 2, or 10 people, but how am I going to tie up hundreds or thousands of people? No matter what, I have to use publicity to get people into the cinema first. At least let them have a first impression. It won't be too bad, so it'll be easier to do later on. Therefore, Chen Guang knew that he couldn't do it, but he had to do it. However, he couldn't let the situation continue to develop in a direction that was disadvantageous to him. After all, if the worst situation happened, there would be no reason for him to just rely on words. He could only do what he did in the past. In this field that was difficult to quantify, he had to show his absolute strength and win everyone's respect. Before all the attention was on him, he would use this book to change the impression of some people who were prejudiced against him. He would make them doubt themselves, and in the end, they would obediently walk into the cinema. At that time, these people would have a completely different feeling when they combine this monograph with his performance in Women. Therefore, Chen Guang couldn't be careless. Either he didn't write this book, or he wrote a book that could make people kneel on the ground and sing Conquest. The old man didn't believe it. The old man's knowledge came from the devil training of the Holy Grail. He didn't use it usually, because he didn't want to scare people to tears. You forced me to do this. The next day, under the operation of Feng Tianyu and Lu Xiaoliang, large posters of Women appeared on the streets of Los Angeles. It was even more crazy and thorough than when Hero and Shaolin Soccer were released in the United States. There had never been many people like him who had no bottom line and used money to open the way. Although Americans advocated freedom, they advocated US dollars more. Although there were stubborn old men like Donald Jostein, there were more businessmen in the advertising and business circles who had no bottom line. As long as you have US dollars, you can even buy my life, let alone my billboards. Although everything was prepared in a hurry, the Tianguang group that went all out brought out the strongest fighting force in history. When Chen Guang and the others took off in the Boeing 787, the Tianguang group had already started to prepare the resources for the entire supporting publicity. Feng Tianyu negotiated with several printing companies overnight and urgently contacted and paid for it in China. The freshly released electronic files of the North American version of the poster were sent from China and distributed by Feng Tianyu to printing companies one after another. The posters that were hung in countless squares and streets were beautifully made and creative. They even carried the fragrance of fresh ink. Lu Xiaoliang, on the other hand, was like a fighting chicken, waving US dollars and negotiating with one advertising contractor after another. Not only in Los Angeles, but also in the world-famous New York Times Square, there were also large posters with Chen Guang's big face printed on them. In addition to the promotion of the movie itself, Lu Xiaoliang decisively carried forward his boss's shameless style. I don't care what you do. I just have to brag about it first. His strategy was simple and straightforward, but it was effective. He avoided the shortcomings of women itself and focused all the publicity resources on his boss alone, praising his acting skills to the skies. Women was too weak in other aspects. If they wanted to achieve the boss's goal, they could only do what he said, which was to focus all the light on him. They hoped that he could support the whole movie with his acting skills and rush for the Oscars. There were so many shameless advertising slogans that Lu Xiaoyang almost believed them. Don't say anything. Just write the script according to what I say. I read one sentence, and you write one sentence. Mistral Chun is the greatest performing artist since the 19th century. His artistic achievements are a link between the past and the future. In the past 300 years, it is impossible to find a great artist who can be compared to him. He is about to come up with a truly epic-making monograph on the performing arts, just 2 days after the movie is released. It will completely subvert the current performing arts system. Everyone, please wait and see. The poor reporter from New York Film Weekly, Bowen, was about to cry. Mistral Lu, if I write like this, my grandma will spank my ass when I get back. Lu Xiaoyang slammed $5,000 on the table in front of him. Take it, it's for your ass's medical expenses. My boss lacks everything but money. Bowen jumped up. My ex-girlfriend's writing is also very hard. I'll call her immediately. Lu Xiaoyang patted him on the shoulder. Good luck, Bowen. I like media people with attitudes like you. I have to leave now. The people from UBC are still waiting for me. You can contact my assistant for the rest of the matter. He just got off the plane, and will call you in about 3 hours. With that, Comrade Xiao Lu patted his ass and left. As a former paparazzi, he had never been as generous as he was today, although his heart was bleeding when he spent $5,000. Damn, that's more than $30,000. Forget it, it's the boss's money anyway. Why would I feel any pain? Just as Lu Xiaoyang said, the follow-up team of 100 people from Tianguang Group was coming from China. In order to configure this huge team, they even borrowed many business elites who were proficient in English from Tianguang media and Tianguang culture. The battle horn of the entire group had been sounded, and no one could stay out of it. Chapter 1065. On the surface, his publicity strategy seemed to have worked very well. His crazy actions even triggered a catfish effect, causing a chain reaction on the internet in Europe and the United States. Not only did the news media and public relations companies who had taken money from the Tianguang Group, but even some celebrities in Europe and the United States, who had nothing to do with him, expressed their views on this matter. Celebrities in the European and American entertainment circles, whether they were in the film, television, pop music, or variety circles, all took the initiative to get involved. Although most of these people expressed that they only treated Chen Guang, the Wuxia man's shameless and crazy actions, as a joke, whether they praised or criticized him, they added a free fire to this matter. Overnight, not only in Los Angeles, but also in the entire North American online world, almost everyone knew about this matter. After UBC, the TV station that took money to do things, made a positive publicity, many TV stations immediately jumped out and fiercely attacked Chen Guang from a negative angle, because he didn't take the money to do the work. The same news even crossed the Atlantic Ocean and spread to another continent, causing a big sensation in Europe. In London, Milan, Paris, Cannes, Florence, and Munich, these palaces of fashion and modern films, countless people stood up to support their film art and defend the dignity of the film industry. Chen Guang's arrogant and overly purposeful actions were like pouring molten iron into a basin of water. It instantly turned the entire film industry upside down, and the entire European and American entertainment circles were boiling. Everything was as Chen Guang had expected at the beginning. The news was basically negative. After all, there were too many angles that could be used to attack him for the Oscars with women. There were so many angles that he couldn't even count them himself. Everyone could find 10,000 reasons to express their disdain and ridicule towards him. But it didn't matter. He didn't care at all, and he didn't have the energy to care anymore. Even if it seemed that he had become the enemy of the world, he didn't care. It was just an ordinary Oscar Best Actor, which had never been his goal. How many Oscars had been held? And how many Best Actors had been born? How many people had won the Best Actor award more than once, or even 3 times? But no one had ever dared to bear the title of the world's Best Actor award. They didn't even dare to think about it, or even mention it. It was precisely because the essence of the performing arts was art. It was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. It was too difficult to quantify, and it was too difficult for people to unreservedly acknowledge it. There would always be lingering disputes. Even if it was last year's Best Actor Shaoli, if he dared to say such words, he would immediately fall off the altar and spend the rest of his life in the ridicule and contempt of the world. If it was possible, Chen Guang also wanted to consolidate his position through a few consecutive championships. At the very least, he wouldn't attract such a terrifying criticism. Unfortunately, the heavenly Holy Grail did not give him much time. He was destined to be unable to follow the thinking and model of ordinary people to complete his career. He had to first make enemies of the whole world, in order to make himself stand on the opposite side of all criticism. When the whole world is doubting me, and despising me, it is also when the whole world's attention is focused on me. Only at this moment, when I am in the center of the whirlpool, can I use my irresistible power to instantly shatter all the dark clouds covering my head. The employees of Tianguang Group knew how crazy their boss was, but with their realm and vision, they would never be able to understand where Chen Guang's madness came from. When the public opinion on the internet further spread back to the country, the negative effects even affected the promotion of the movie in the country. Gradually, voices came from Europe and America. Silently, a new concept appeared on the internet. All filmmakers and film lovers today, when the film industry is suffering the greatest humiliation, must unite and boycott this despicable and shameless Chinese internet celebrity. What do you take the Oscars for? What do you take movies for? What do you take art for? The cabbages in your backyard? The toys you buy for babies and children? You can control everything with money? Furthermore, you're not particularly rich. Even Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Warren Buffett don't have such power. Who do you think you are? The son of Nike's chairman Travis Knight is worth tens of billions of US dollars. In order to fulfill his movie dream, he finally came up with Legend of the Magic String. He only received a nomination, but he didn't even stand on the podium. He has more money than you, has more dreams than you, and is more focused than you. Even he doesn't dare to talk nonsense like this. Who do you think you are? So what if you have great achievements in other fields? You haven't even brought out your movie. You've only acted in an outdated play, Thunderstorm. How do you have the face to fight for the Oscars? Every filmmaker, every person who loves movies. If you still have dreams, if you still have perseverance, if you don't want to see the greatest art since mankind entered the 20th century become a joke, unite, boycott him, reject his news, reject his hype, reject his topics, even refuse to talk about him. Most importantly, you have to reject his movie. Even if he gives you a free ticket, you have to throw it into your husky's kennel. Even a husky won't watch his movie. The voices grew louder and louder, crossing the Atlantic Ocean from North America to Europe, then crossing the time difference to rush to Asia and back to China. There was also an uproar in China. People in the world always had their own opinions. Chen Guang's diehard fans, of course, spared no effort to stand up for him. But there were still all kinds of debates on the internet. Some people said that he had embarrassed himself abroad. Others said that before you scold him, look at his past, look at his achievements. What right do you have to doubt him? You don't even deserve to carry his shoes. Others said that those who say such ignorant words don't understand movies, don't understand acting, and lack a basic outlook on life. They are all brainless young people who haven't matured yet. This is the standard. If you can do it, then do it. If I can't refrigerate, then I can't scold the fridge. Others said that you just can't bear to see the Chinese struggle for their dreams. When the whole world is criticizing and mocking him, why can't we, who have the same yellow skin and black hair as him, give him a touch of warmth when the whole world is throwing cold knives at him? Even if he fails in the end, Isn't his dream of becoming the first Chinese best actor in history great? People like you who don't have dreams don't have the right to laugh at his dream. Others said that you idiots only know how to talk on the internet. If you want to support his dream, then go vote for the Oscars. Do you even have the right to vote? Anyway, we originally planned to watch this movie for Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yache. But now forget it, we can't afford to lose face. All kinds of thoughts were fermenting on the internet, and in reality, boiling like a pot of thick soup. In the long history of the Oscars for nearly 90 years, there had never been a movie that had caused such a shocking criticism and rejection before it had even been nominated. Although the entertainment circle had a tradition of demonizing people, there had never been a movie that had caused such a stir. It was something that had nothing to do with people's simple lives. However, all of a sudden in China, it had become a show of support and mockery for their countrymen. Overseas, it had become the bottom line to defend the movie. This matter had completely surpassed the scope of the movie itself. With such a terrifying wave of public opinion, even Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, and Lu Xiaoliang, the initiators, felt as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They had thought that there would be a backlash, but they had never dreamed that it would be so strong. Even if they stood on the street in Los Angeles and looked up at the sky, they could still feel the invisible pressure that filled the sky and the earth. Yu Hong stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window on the 15th floor of the Lida building in Wujing City, looking at the cars passing by. He also furrowed his brows. He didn't know what his boss, who was in Los Angeles, would think when he saw what we had done. We messed things up. Will he go crazy? Fang Tianyu and Lu Xiaoliang stood in front of the door of Chen Guang's hotel room, pacing back and forth. They didn't even dare to knock on the door, let alone report the situation to Chen Guang. The more explosive the public opinion was, the more frightened they were. However, the ugly daughter-in-law had to meet her parents-in-law. They couldn't hide it for long. Their boss was also writing an article on his computer. He liked to browse Weibo, so how could he not see the situation? Forget it. If he died, then so be it. The two gathered their courage and were about to knock on the door when Chen Guang's door suddenly opened. You two have been hanging around the door for almost 10 minutes, right? Who lost money? Did you find it? Chen Guang rolled his eyes at them. Come in quickly. If you have something to say, just say it. I'm busy here. Lu Xiaoliang and Fang Tianyu anxiously followed him. They were worried that Chen Guang would suddenly slap them in the face. Boss, we are here to report the situation. Chen Guang, who had just sat in front of the computer and took a sip of tea, put down the cup and turned around. All right, let's improve our efficiency. I just want to ask you one thing. Did you complete the things you wrote in the proposal? The two nodded at the same time. Yes. Chen Guang took another sip of water. Since it's all done, what else is there to report? Let's continue with the original plan. Lu Xiaoliang took a deep breath. But boss, the situation is getting out of control. Fang Tianyu's scalp hardened. With the determination to die, he said loudly, That's right. We were too impatient for success. Everyone knows our purpose. They also know that this is your first movie. They also know the original position of the movie heroine. The development of the public opinion is completely out of our control. Now even if we spend $200 million, we can't suppress the negative and criticism, let alone $40 million. Lu Xiaoliang nodded heavily and almost shouted, That's right. Boss, this time, you might really have the whole world as your enemy. The whole world as your enemy. Didn't you check Weibo? Chen Guang was stunned for a moment, and then he came back to his senses. I just checked the website half an hour ago, and I thought you had something new to report. But it turns out to be this lousy matter? Lu Xiaoliang was shocked. Boss, you call this lousy matter? Chen Guang shrugged. Of course. If this isn't lousy matter, then what is? You don't say. My dad just called and scolded me. Fang Tianyu could not help but ask. What did he say? Chen Guang wore a fearful expression as he continued. You've scolded me to the point that I nearly disregarded my son. Lu Xiaoliang said embarrassedly. Uncle Chen must be joking, right? Chen Guang returned to his calm look. That's right. He was joking. Feng Tianyu and Lu Xiaoyang looked at each other. What time was it? Boss, why are you still panting while talking? What's wrong with you? Chapter 1066. Boss, what should we do now? Do we need to get more people to use some special methods? Lu Xiaoyang hinted that Chen Guang had some special channels and connections in China. At the very least, Lu Xiaoyang knew that Chen Guang had some connections in China. At the very least, he could stabilize the public opinion in China. Feng Yu can't care about the North American box office and the Oscars anymore. He must at least protect the Chinese box office. However, he never expected that Chen Guang would already be sitting before his computer and typing on the keyboard. Nothing much. We'll just follow the original plan and do what needs to be done. Since we have prepared $40 million, we will continue to spend it. It doesn't matter if people scold me or support me. They are giving us free publicity, and we don't need to thank them. Feng Yu stopped talking after that. Normally, he wouldn't mind messing around with the two of them, but World School of Performing Arts was a difficult book to write. He understood everything in his head, but he had to write from simple to deep, and from deep to simple, so that others could understand and learn it. It is not easy for Feng Yu to construct a knowledge system for others to learn and understand. Chen Guang's theory is more than 10 times better than Stanislavski's performing arts system. Feng Yu's time is tight, and he must make every sentence in his book concise. He must use the least amount of words to express the deepest meaning. If he wasn't an invincible language master, who was proficient in 4,987 languages, he wouldn't have been able to do it. Lu Xiaoyang and Feng Tianyu looked at each other, and then at Chen Guang, who is as calm as a Zen monk. They were speechless for a while. Does Feng Yu not know what is going on? Of course, Feng Yu knows the tricks of the public. Feng Yu had worked his way up to where he is today, because of the controversy of the public opinion. He started by going against his school's vice principal, Su Lijing, and then became an online anchor. After that, Zhuo Wei tried to cause trouble for him with 8 magazine. In the end, Chen Guang even got Tianguang management to send legal letters to countless media outlets and marketing accounts. No matter from which angle one looked at it, Chen Guang could be considered as a master of public opinion. He cares about his reputation and is good at reversing the criticism. More often than not, he could see through the situation at a glance. He knew what kind of response and preparation would be the most effective under the circumstances of public opinion. He used to be a person with a good reputation who would easily lose his temper. But why did he become so calm this time? What is Feng Yu thinking? The situation outside is so chaotic, but he's still expressionless and unmoving like a mountain, allowing us to continue advancing according to the existing track? He does not care about the criticism. At this moment of life and death, with the whole world as his enemy, he could still sit here calmly and write his monograph. How big does his heart have to be to do that? The two finally understood why Feng Yu is Feng Yu, and why Chen Guang, who looks like a clown, can endure all the pressure and get to where he is today. Because under this clown's appearance, there is a big heart that can contain the whole world. He would never be knocked down. Come to think of it, up until now, everything he had done had always been to set a goal, and then carry it out in an extremely thorough and crazy manner. Even if those who stood in his way were often the world's top experts and experts from all walks of life, and even if there were countless people who doubted his ability, he had never doubted or wavered in his own ability. It is the same this time. The two clenched their fists. Damn, following such a boss, we can only accompany him in his craziness. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it is the third day. After 48 hours of preparation and criticism, Tianguang Group, the supernova that revolves around Chen Guang, did not stop. In fact, it continued to advertise even more intensely. Posters of women sprang up like mushrooms after a spring rain from Los Angeles on the west coast to Miami on the east coast. One after another, TV stations prostrated themselves under the attack of the US dollar and became his mouthpiece. This is the advantage of living in a democratic land. Even if you know that you are risking universal condemnation, as long as you have money, the media will always be able to make a voice that is not in harmony with the general public. The people of Demi are only boycotting Chen Guang. They will not boycott the media that took Chen Guang's money to speak for him. Other than the TV stations, YouTube, who has worked closely with him in the past, unexpectedly chose to stand on his side at this time. YouTube even paid out of its own pocket to do publicity. At the same time, it prepared several channels to play videos of some of the events he has participated in or organized in the past, as well as the most important evidence of his acting skills, the live video of the play Thunderstorm. He had no idea where YouTube managed to find such a treasure. The crazed leader of the livestream industry had actually recreated the video of Chen Guang's masked participation in the Xiangjiang car gambling competition into an even more exquisite feature documentary. Other than that, this leader of social media also chose to stand on the same side as Chen Guang. Although it did not suppress the voices that boycotted Chen Guang, it was doing the same thing as YouTube, promoting him for free. The greatest racer in the history of mankind. The most perfect fighting machine since the birth of esports. The undisputed master of miniature sculpture. The master of piano performance that can turn back time by reproducing the original sound. The king of darts who used his own strength to completely subvert the darts competition. The incredible master of human linguistics. The great pilot who used his own strength to improve human flying skills by several levels. The winner of the Civil Aviation Hero Medal. These were Chen Guang's achievements that could be compiled into a book. They were even made into feature reports one after another and spread wildly on social media sites for free. Even Fang Tianyu and Lu Xiaoyang were confused. Their own publicity budget was not enough to support advertising on these two leaders. The confusion of the two was not solved until they received a call from Tang Xiaokai. At first, the two thought that Tang Xiaokai went to say hello, but Tang Xiaokai denied it. When one's status reached the level of Mark Zuckerberg, the words and actions of these people could not be influenced by simple interpersonal relationships. In Mark Zuckerberg's words, this was roughly the case. Just like what Chen Guang had been doing, the global technology industry had been challenging the limits of human beings and all kinds of impossibilities. Regardless of whether Chen Guang could do it this time, his courage and determination to attack the impossible represented the great will that was enough to promote human progress. He knew that it was impossible, and he knew that it was difficult, but he did it. This was crazy, and it was great. In the long history of human scientific development, there had been many people like him, just like Bruno and Galileo who were persecuted many years ago. Chen Guang's behavior today seemed crazy, but it represented the lifelong pursuit of every generation of scientific and technological talents. Never compromise with any doubts, even if they die on the road. Even if he may not be right, we can't let the spirit of human progress be in the cold winter of the world's criticism. We have responsibilities and obligations, and we have to follow our hearts, so we choose to support him. What we really support is not his behavior today. We recognize his past achievements, and we recognize his current spirit. What we want to defend is not some movie, but the courage of human beings to challenge the impossible. We must always have a different voice and protect everyone's right to make a choice, because only then will our future have infinite possibilities. Although the truth of the matter might not be as great as what Zuckerberg said, maybe they used their artificial intelligence and big data system to analyze Chen Guang's past, and came to a seemingly ridiculous, but actually reasonable conclusion. Maybe these technology giants thought that Chen Guang could win this time, so they chose to bet on him. If they could win, even if they could not get substantial economic benefits, the potential benefits could bring them huge benefits, and even the friendship of many Chinese people. Just this alone was enough to tempt the tech giants. But no matter what their motives were, the technology giants who could make such a choice at this moment were extremely righteous. It was easy to hit someone when they were down, but it was hard to help someone when they were in need. When Lu Xiaoyang heard Tang Xiaokai trying his best to suppress his emotions and say these words with a trembling voice, He almost burst into tears. Comrade Xiao Lu silently looked at the room next door. The boss had just eaten lunch, and he should still be writing at this moment. He thought to himself, how charismatic does our boss have to be able to influence those billionaires in the present age? It's a waste of boss's talent not to be a charlatan. Lu Xiaoyang looked at his watch again. There are still 7 hours until the premiere. Fang Tianyu nodded. The two of them took out another report. After the premiere at 8 p.m. that night, the official screening in the United States would start at 10:30 p.m. Looking at the shocking red crosses, and the embarrassing figure of only 0.67%, the two of them, who had just been excited, felt cold again. In just 2 days, the 2% screening rate that they had negotiated with much difficulty had plummeted. Many cinema chains even had to pay compensation out of their own pockets to forcibly remove women from the shelves. Everything had been prepared too hastily, and the medium-sized distribution company controlled by Tang Jie Foundation had too little say. Many cinema chains had to consider the attitude of all American filmmakers. Even though they knew that it was a breach of contract, they had no choice but to further reduce the screening rate. Although the support of the tech giants had slightly changed the situation of public opinion, and although the tech industry and the film industry were inextricably linked, there was still an inevitable barrier. Their stance could not change the situation of the declining screening rate. Such a big publicity for the movie premiere was held in Hollywood's Wuxia Theater's number 14 screening hall, and the screening rate on the first day was only 0.67%. There was no weirder and more painful movie premiere than this. Fang Tianyu still had a bitter look on his face as he waved the premiere invitation list in his hand. There were big red crosses on it one after another. Fang Tianyu sighed. I've really tried my best. I can't invite anyone from the North American entertainment industry. President Tang has also helped a lot, but it's useless. Everyone who is even a little bit related to the entertainment industry is avoiding us like snakes and scorpions. Lu Xiaoyang took the list and sighed. I feel like I really miss the old foreign professor in San Diego. If it really doesn't work, we can spend some money to find a few experienced international friends to do some makeup, and give each of them a suit to make up for the number of people. We should at least make it look more impressive. As he spoke, Chen Guang's voice resounded in his ears. Only the heavens knew how that fellow was capable of listening to their conversation through a wall. No need. It's fine if there's no one at the premiere. That's the effect I want, the contrast. The uglier and more miserable we look, the better. Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu looked at each other, not understanding Chen Guang's intentions. Be reasonable, boss. Aren't we embarrassed like this? Chapter 1067. With such a low screening rate, a premiere with 0 guests in screening hall 14, and a time when humans have yet to break out of Earth and enter outer space. Based on the criticism and popularity we're receiving now, we're definitely going to become a laughingstock and a disgrace to outer space. Lu Xiaoyang clicked on another piece of news. To be precise, it was yesterday's old news. The title was A Premiere Without Guests. I heard that they still want to fight for the Oscars? An Oriental joke from an ancient civilization with 5,000 years of history. The guy who wrote this news was quite vicious and sinister. Unlike others who attacked Chen Guang's acting skills from all aspects, he found a very tricky angle to ridicule and satirize the premiere of Women. This article catered to many people's tastes. Since it was published on the internet, it received a high number of clicks, reposts, and replies. Even some local TV stations specially used this article to talk about it, making this guy earn a lot of royalties in one day. Although this guy called LeBron Antonio was unknown, and he was purely trying to ride on the hot news, he did have some channels to find out a lot of inside information, and he caught hold of Chen Guang and the Tianguang group's weakness. Lu Fang and Lu Xiaoyang sighed. It was already embarrassing enough, and now people were writing about it and ridiculing it. What a scam! They should have brought a team from China, at least Chengdu's boss Li or the two Ma's, and then let Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage bring in some industry stars. such as Brother Long or Master Xing. They were considered heavyweights in the world, and they could handle the scene. But it was too late. What should they do now? Find someone by force? The boss of some small company under Tang Xiaokai that had a market value of tens of millions? The American soldier who made a living in China? C.I. Shiping, who had some fate with China, and was working as a water cooler manager for the Los Angeles Lakers. Or Marbury, who refused to retire from the Yanjing basketball team. Stop messing around. Who knew them? Today's movie will be released on the same day, and the cast members are A-list superstars such as Cameron, Spielberg, Tom Cruise, Lil Lee Blessed Curls, Moldy Trembling Woods, Hermione, Eminem, and so on. We might as well not bring this lineup. You might be shameless, but others were. In this situation, even if you offered money, you wouldn't be able to invite them. Most importantly, the premiere is only 7 hours away, and we can't even afford such a shabby lineup. So bitter. In the next room, Chen Guang was not as calm as he appeared. He was so angry that he wanted to chop someone up. But what could he do? Kidnap him? Was he really going to spend money to hire a fake army? The media wasn't stupid. Now that he was full of flaws, it would only be more embarrassing if they found someone to expose him. F***CK. How much have you wronged me today? When the old man writes his monograph, when the old man becomes the best actor, how ashamed will you be? I want all of you to feel ashamed of yourselves. However, he was also a little worried. Did he go too far? If he really couldn't force people into the cinema even with a knife, it would be like what Tang Xiaokai said about a 3-day cinema tour. He would be in big trouble. Sai, forget it. I don't want to think about this. I have to have confidence in myself. At most, I'll go to the forum and play the patriotic card. First, I'll trick the Chinese into joining. Then I'll get my fellow countrymen to help me with MLM. He was really quick-witted, coming up with an idea in a flash. Forget it, I'll just continue writing my novel. Time passed in the blink of an eye. No matter how painful Fang Tianyu and Lu Xiaoyang were, they still had to leave 6 hours earlier. Although the Tianguang Group team in Los Angeles had more than 60 people, the two idiots were still the ones in charge. They wouldn't feel at ease if they didn't see some key points with their own eyes. After leaving, the two of them went their separate ways. Lu Xiaoyang went to the Hollywood Wuxia Theater, while Fang Tianyu went to the Tianguang Group's temporary office in Los Angeles. It was an office building that Tang Xiaokai had just rented yesterday. It was about a 10-minute walk from the Flemington Hotel. At this time, the office building was filled with dozens of people. People came and went, and it was very busy. There were only people in the office, and the desks were empty. The employees of the Tianguang Group really didn't have time to prepare desktop computers. Fortunately, most of the elites who came here had brought their own laptops. If they didn't, the boss was rich. The laptops were a little short and small, so the desk looked empty, but it didn't affect their work efficiency. Get in touch with YouTube and follow up on their public opinion data. If they need information to support it, get the headquarters to organize the documents and send them over immediately. All the information must be categorized, and the items must be clear. D***MN. This is obviously Dog 3's job, but I'm the one doing it. Xiaozhang. Call Valiant Company. The top right corner of the billboard in Times Square has been flashing nonstop. It's blinding. Xiaozhang. Have you contacted the publisher and the printing company? The boss will bring out the book the day after tomorrow. We want to create a global publishing miracle. The boss will publish the book in the morning, and we will send the fragrant book to every newsstand in the US in the afternoon. Before dawn in China, we want all the Xinhua bookstores to be filled with the boss's books. We want Amazon, Jingxi, Taobao, and all the big internet celebrities on Weibo to sell the boss's books. Remember, the price in China is $39.9 US and the same in Europe and the US. Not 1 cent more, not 1 cent less. Xiaozheng. Manager Fang, we will lose money this way. Fang Tianyu. If we lose money, so be it. The boss said that the main goal of the first printing is to maximize sales. As long as the losses are within the company's bearable range, there won't be a problem. If we make money, he will only ask me for it. Xiaozheng. What about proofreading and refinement? Will the boss just print it after he writes it? Fang Tianyu grunted. You're finished. You're questioning the ability of the world's #1 language master. Will the boss make a typo? Impossible. Even if he's wrong, he's still right. Have you heard of Lu Sun's story? Do you want me to tell you about it? Xiao Hu. Immediately contact all the major cinema chains that have decided not to go back on their word. I just talked to President Tang's distribution company. We will continue to reduce the film's commission by 10% and give the cinema chains 80% of the box office commission. Damn, I don't believe they won't be tempted. Every cinema will subsidize $5,000 for publicity and let them make their own posters. The screening rate is 0.67%. F*CK. Tell them that for every additional screening, our distribution company will reward them with $1,000. Xiao Zhou, contact the ticketing company and ask for special tickets, group tickets, discounted tickets. The average ticket price in the US cannot exceed $4.50. Give out popcorn as soon as you enter. 3 days later, there will be a big gift pack. $39.9 for the big gift pack. The movie tickets and the boss's book will be bundled together. Wait, the big gift pack will only cost $29.9. Chen Guang had gone crazy. Fang Tianyu had also gone crazy. He was dead set on the financial budget given by Su Li. He was going to spend every cent of the Tianguang Group's money, and he was going to spend it wisely. After the initial publicity, the focus of the work had shifted to increasing the screening rate and attendance rate as the top priority. As for how to change the reputation of the movie and the boss's image after he got them in, this was beyond the scope of his ability. It was not something he could manage. Whether a work was good or not, the internet water army and public opinion could play a role. But in the end, the boss had to be as awesome as he said. But as the boss had said, it was not a problem that he needed to worry about or consider. As the boss's right-hand man, he only needed to carry out the boss's will. Anyway, he would do his best and leave it to fate. Bundling the boss's book with the movie tickets was a genius idea that Fang Tianyu had suddenly come up with. Oh, one more question. What about the premiere? Thinking of this, poor old Fang sighed again. But face should be about to explode. He had also tried his best. He had even inquired about the interpersonal relationships that he had built up after working in the United States for so many years. But he could not get anyone to come. I tried my best, but I couldn't do it. Forget it. Anyway, the boss has already given up. We are not Superman. We can't do anything about it. Fang Tianyu's guess was right. At this time, Lu Xiaoliang was standing in the huge square outside the Wuxia Theater in Hollywood. He had a feeling that the wind was howling, and the water was cold. Manager Fang, the venue I arranged for you is not bad, right? But aren't your posters and banners a little too shabby? You can't even fill 1/3 of the venue. This empty space reminds me of the layout of your cities when I traveled to Wuxia 20 years ago. Also, what is this narrow red carpet? Is it a footcloth? Donna Josh Dan, who was supposed to be extremely busy today, ran over to Lu Xiaoliang's side and teased him with great interest. As the manager of the Wuxia Theater for many years, he would not make himself work so hard. Although the Wuxia Theater had to hold the premiere of at least 8 movies at the same time, Donald did not need to worry about everything. The theater company had a complete staff structure, and there were people who could help him. As the general manager, Donald only needed to deal with some core affairs, such as wrangling with Tang Xiaokai in the office. Of course, that also included him running over to Lu Xiaoliang's side to add insult to injury. Although work was important, maintaining a happy mood was more important. The premiere of Women is also part of the Wuxia Theater's business. Now that I'm here, I can show my professionalism. Lu Xiaoliang's face was livid. Mr. Josh Dan, this is not what we agreed on. The venue is a little too big. Also, Mr. Josh Dan, my surname is Lu. I am not Manager Fang. Donald's expression did not change. Oh, I'm sorry. In my eyes, you Wuxia people all look a little similar. Also, doesn't your company like a bigger venue? Since your company's boss, Chen Guang, wants to win an Oscar, you can't just want a small corner, right? People will think that you are a troop from China. I heard from a friend that there is a Chinese idiom to describe this kind of people. It's called grassroots troop, right? One had to admit that Donald's Chinese pronunciation was very good, and his pronunciation was very accurate. Obviously, he had expected Chen Guang's people to question him, so he had practiced his lines on purpose. He had prepared his lines in advance to add insult to injury. Lu Xiaoyang was about to explode. Damn it! If it wasn't for the fact that you have a high status in the North American film industry, I would have slapped your face. Damn it, you are the grassroots troop. Your whole family is a grassroots troop. Chapter 1068. But Lu Xiaoyang tolerated it. He pinched his nose and replied in a muffled voice. If he did not pinch his nose, he was worried that he would have to use his fists to serve the other party. Then I would like to thank you on behalf of Mr. Chen. Donald smiled insincerely. Manager Fong, you're too kind. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. I wish you a great premiere. There will be a lot of media reporters here today. Although your movie has a terrible image in the media right now, I will be happy to invite the media reporters over to take a look, take some photos, write some articles, and publish some news. This should be able to satisfy your company's Mr. Chen's requirements and give you a better influence. Donald left immediately after he finished speaking. He could tell that Lu Xiaoyang was about to explode, although the one who would suffer would be that annoying Chen Guang if he were to be beaten up. But I'm an old man. There's no need for me to suffer with a young man. That would be bad for my health. After Donald left, Lu Xiaoyang took a deep breath for 30 seconds to calm down. He knew that the other party was here to disgust him, and he knew that he had fallen into the old man's trap. But even though he knew that it was a trap, he could not help but jump in. Lu Xiaoyang sighed. Compared to his boss, who would remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, he was worlds apart. Forget it, the boss is right. I'll make a grand entrance no matter how much land you give me. Don't you want to see us make a fool of ourselves? We'll let you see as much as you want today. When the boss's movie is released, all of you will be convinced by the beating. How arrogant you are today will be how embarrassing you will be when the time comes. F***CK, my surname is not Fong. Xiaoqing, come here. Contact the printing company and convention company. Change the red carpet immediately. Change the stage. Change the posters. Change all of them. We'll occupy as much land as he gives us. Manager Lu, is this really okay? We don't have any guests. Lu Xiaoyang took a deep breath and imitated Chen Guang's tone. Xiaoqing, you're still young. You don't understand the boss's realm. Don't be happy with external things. Don't be sad about yourself. No matter what happens outside, I will stand firm. If you always care about other people's gazes and gossips, then you can only become a mortal. Look at our President Chen. How did he achieve so much at such a young age? Little Qin, life is a science. You really have to learn slowly. You're still young. After saying that, Lu Xiaoyang walked away with his hands clasped behind his back like an expert. Little Qin stood there and thought for a long time. Isn't CEO Chen only 21 years old? Also, I calculated with my fingers. It's true that Chief Chen is capable, but according to Manager Lu's theory, that boss's greatest achievement is that he is thick-skinned and isn't afraid of being scolded, right? Lu Xiaoyang's calmness and good mood did not last long. Not long after Don had left, William Jones, who had met Chen Guang once before, came over with a large group of friends. These European and American celebrities had come to attend the movie premieres of The Sunshine Man and July in Florence. Although they knew that the recently popular women was also here, they had originally planned to stay far away from them, to draw a clear line between them and the movie. However, after listening to William Jones's suggestion, they immediately changed their minds and came here to see what was going on. Behind this group of people, there was a large group of reporters with their cameras and cannons. Yo, this is the premiere of a Chinese blockbuster that has a screening rate of 0.67% in the United States. That's amazing. What a big stage. Yo, it's the premiere of Hall 14. It looks like a blockbuster. Ha 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 ha, this reminds me of Anderson's call. What? The Emperor's new costume? I have a question. Did you guys hear who's going to attend their premiere? I know someone from the New York Yankees will be coming. Who? A lawn mower for the New York Yankees, but I don't know his name. Ha 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 ha. My friends from the media, hurry up and take pictures of this magical scene. The Chinese really care more about their reputation than we thought. I'm really worried that they won't be able to earn back the money they spent on the premiere. That's impossible. I heard that they paid UBC $1 million for the advertisement. Lu Xiaoyang kept reminding himself, I'll endure. I'll endure. I'll continue to endure. I'll continue to endure. I'm Ninja Sango. When these people finally leave, who knows how many pictures those reporters will take? I can easily guess what kind of news will appear on the internet. Forget it, it doesn't matter anymore. Anyway, the premiere will be over in another 3 or 4 hours. Our premiere will probably last about 10 minutes. After a while, another group of celebrities arrived. This time, they were led by an Oscar-winning director. Again, I'm being trampled on again. They even put pot ashes in my eyes. Lu Xiaoyang couldn't stand it anymore. He decisively turned around and ran away. He told little Qin that if anything happened, he could report to him at any time. He could just hide in the cafe next to the square and watch. He couldn't control them, but he was also angry. So he decisively decided not to see them. President Chen, when are you coming? Come and save me. Time passed by quickly. 1 hour. 2 hours later, the venue of the world premiere of Women was quickly renovated by the super-efficient operation of the US dollar. The exhibition lighting layout was more gorgeous, and the poster array was more exquisite and large. The spacious pure wool red carpet could even be ridden by horses. Everything looked so gorgeous. Except for Comrade Xiao Lu's increasingly short guest list, it was really flawless. That's right. Originally, there were a few friends in the circle that Big Beard Deng had put in a lot of effort to get. At least they had some weight, and people would have some impression of their names. But in these few hours, these people might have been persuaded by others, or they might have been scared away by the negative news that had just been continuously updated on social networks and the media. Until now, they had sent messages one after another, either saying that they had a stomachache or something happened at home. In short, one after another, they said that they couldn't come. What was even more miserable was that in these 2 to 3 hours, other premieres had started one after another. They were really brilliant and strong. Even if it was a pure literary film with an investment of less than $10 million US, there were also big names in the industry who came to support them for free. Among them, there was even a bastard who had just stood Lu Xiaoyang up and said that he had his appendix removed in the hospital. Without comparison, there would be no harm. Almost every time after the red carpet part of the press conference, the reporters who were free for a short time would go to the booth of Women, which was beautifully decorated, but only had a few staff members to take pictures of the cold wind. Lu Xiaoyang, who was hiding in the cafe, saw this scene. He knew that the titles of these beasts tonight would generally be like this. XX movie conference stars shine, China's women is deserted. On the day of the XX movie premiere, XXX superstar said that he had watched the test screening, and the reviews were overwhelming. The movie is scheduled to be nominated for an Oscar. Next door, Women said that I'm here for the golden plums. The foreigners might not have used such a lofty idiom as deserted, and would generally change it to something else, but the meaning should be more or less the same. You animals, I can tolerate it if only 1 or 2 families do this, but if all of them do this, it's too much. He looked down at the calendar in his hand, and his face became even more ashen. At 8 o'clock in the evening, the 3 movies, Women, The Sunshine Man and July in Florence, would hold their premieres at the same time. The movie The Sunshine Man told the story of a white man who was born in a black area, and the difficulties and struggles he felt since he was young, especially after he became an adult. The movie cut into the story from a very tricky and novel angle, reflecting the color barrier in the current era, and finally expressed the concept of eliminating discrimination and pursuing coexistence. It was very much in line with the mainstream ideology of the United States, led by Comrade Guanhai in recent years. July in Florence was not easy to deal with either. The story took place in Florence during the Renaissance, but it was not about familiar names like Michelangelo, Raphael, or Leonardo da Vinci. July in Florence told the story of the European customs and cultural environment of this special period, from the perspective of an aspiring but unknown artist at that time. Under the director's meticulous craftsmanship, the film was beautifully produced. It started from a small point of view, and the story was intertwined. The final ending was huge, and it could be said to be the best Renaissance historical film in the 21st century. Apart from women, The Sunshine Man and July in Florence were the hot favorites for this year's Oscar. They did not even need any other publicity, and they had already been nominated for several awards. In particular, William Jones and Ben Affleck, the two male leads in the movie, were almost the two most popular nominees for the Oscar this year. Although the other nominees were also veterans in the industry with good reputations and acting skills, due to the limitations of the theme and structure of the movie itself, they were a lot less imposing than these two. The other actors had even become the tag-along party. However, this was not the problem that Liu Xiaoyang cared about the most at that moment. He only thought about what happened to his boss tonight, and his heart ached for him and himself. It's hard to say if we'll be the tag-along party at the Oscars, but we've already been the tag-along party at the premiere. Our booth is bigger than everyone else's combined, but when the other side is bustling with noise, our booth is completely silent. How miserable is that? Who says that international friends are gentle and refined? Who says that international friends are polite and of high quality? These bastards drive to hit people when they're down. And the foreign media's ability to tear people's scars and spit on people's faces. They're all very cunning. While Liu Xiaoyang was letting his imagination run wild, a person suddenly sat down next to him. He turned his head and saw Chen Guang open his Apple computer and snap his fingers at the waiter. "Vetries, give me a caramel latte and 3 grams of oil." "Boss, why are you here?" Liu Xiaoyang forced himself to focus and asked. Chapter 1069. Flipping open his laptop, Chen Guang continued. "I'm almost done with the first half of the World School of Performing Arts. I originally intended to finish the entire book by today, but it looks like I'm a little late. But it doesn't matter. I'll split it into 2 volumes. Wait for another half an hour, and I'll give you the electronic version of the first volume. Contact Fang Tianyu, and try to get a hardcover copy of the first volume before the premiere tonight. When the time comes, anyone who's willing to attend our premiere, whether they're people from the media or people in the entertainment industry, even if they're able-bodied men who just happen to pass by, we'll give them a copy. But we don't have a serial number for our printed publications. It's illegal, isn't it?" Liu Xiaoyang's eyes lit up. He thought Chen Guang's idea was great, but it was a bit inappropriate. Chen Guang said indifferently, "It doesn't matter. We're giving it away for free. We won't make any profit at all. It's just like how people give away collections of theses when they attend academic conferences. It's just a printed product at our own expense. It doesn't violate any laws in the USA. Remember, Buttface, tonight, when the most embarrassing premiere in history begins, it will be the time for us to blow the horn of our counterattack. To maximize the influence of the premiere, we have to do whatever it takes." "Yes, boss." Liu Xiaoyang stood up and walked out quickly. Just a moment ago, he was still feeling dejected, but Chen Guang's words had ignited his fighting spirit. With a smile, Chen Guang lowered his head to write the last paragraph of the first volume. A few minutes later, when he had just pressed the send button, a blonde waitress came with a cup of coffee. "Sir, your coffee is here. Please enjoy." Chen Guang looked up and smiled. "Freundlinger." That was the German pronunciation of thank you. The waitress was surprised. "Sir, how do you know I'm German?" Chen Guang blinked. "Your English has a little northern Bavarian accent. If I'm not wrong, you grew up in Nuremberg." The waitress was shocked. "Sir, you're amazing." Chen Guang waved his hand calmly. "It's nothing. If you knew my name, you wouldn't be surprised at all." The waitress thought about it for a long time. Although she worked in the heart of the entertainment industry, she was so busy every day that her feet did not touch the ground. As a German, she was not interested in the gossip in the entertainment industry. She did not know Chen Guang's name. But now, Chen Guang's words had piqued her endless curiosity. Sir, although I really don't know you, may I have your number? I admire your erudition. Chen Guang looked up at her. It may not be a good thing for you to exchange contact information with me. If you really want to be my friend, you can take your friend to the Hollywood Wuxia Theater across the square to watch the premiere of a movie from China, Women. It's free. The waitress was stunned. She finally matched Chen Guang's image in her mind with the news that she had seen while chatting with her colleagues last night. Her jaw dropped. Oh my God, you are. Chen Guang shushed her. Don't call my name out loud, or your boss will kick me out. I don't want to carry my laptop around everywhere. Okay, sir. The waitress took a while to calm down. I'll get back to work then? Well, okay. Thank you. Your coffee is great. Chen Guang took out a $50 tip from his pocket and put it in the waitress's hand. Thank you for your service. The waitress blushed slightly, but after a short hesitation, she still took it. She turned around and took 2 steps, then stopped and turned back. Mr. Chen, my friend is the head of the community service organization here. I will ask her to bring her friends to watch a movie tonight. You are completely different from the rumors. You are knowledgeable, humble, and polite. Chen Guang nodded slightly. You flatter me. The waitress suddenly blushed under his gaze. I know you will be very busy during this period, but if it's possible, I really want to leave your contact information. I also know that you seem to have a girlfriend in China, but I don't care about that. Hearing this, Chen Guang's heart trembled. This was practically asking him out in the open. Thank you for your kindness, but we Chinese are very particular about fate. Fate means that there are 7 billion people in this world, and every time they meet and have a conversation, it's actually made up of countless miraculous coincidences. However, to truly turn this coincidental fate into an inevitable friendship, it might take a little more time to settle, and a second fate. Not only was the waitress not annoyed by his rejection, but the light in her eyes became brighter. I understand, Mr. Chen. She did not have any unhappiness when she failed to ask him out. Instead, she left with a heart full of joy. Chen Guang shook his head slightly. No way. Handsome people are just that confident. After sending the email, he stretched his back. He was not physically tired, but he wanted to rest. There were still 2 days before the next volume, and he just needed to get it out in time the day after tomorrow. He wrote the first volume more slowly. On the one hand, the content of the first volume was similar to the general outline, and there were some more general conceptual things in it. On the other hand, this was the first time he had written such a high-intensity book continuously, and the difficulty was greater than when he taught people how to fly a plane or write language textbooks. Now that he had a little bit of knowledge, he was more familiar with the second volume, and the things he wrote were not so superficial, but more detailed and practical skills. So he wrote faster. He opened the document again and roughly counted the number of words. It was incredible that he had written a full 200,000 words in less than 3 days. If it were not for the old man's profound skills and invincible body, he would not have been able to hold on. Sitting here alone was also boring, so he opened Weibo and the news media website to browse casually. Thanks to the human nature of the big data system in the information age, he had been looking for news related to himself recently, and almost all the news that was pushed to him were related to him. Forget it. There was no need to repeat those shocking headlines. Saying too much would make him cry. Regardless of whether it was Chinese, English, German, or French, as far as the eye could see, most of them were scolding him. Chen Guang searched for a long time, and finally found an article on the domestic news media website that spoke up for him. A young man who knew what was good for him had organized the special topics created by technology giants, such as YouTube, into a report, which could be considered as speaking up for him. However, the comment section below was still tragic, and his own fans and haters who did not like him were in a heated argument. Chen Guang roughly scanned through and estimated the ratio of the two sides in his heart. He was quite impressed with himself. In China, these two types of people actually accounted for half of the country. This ratio was very accurate, and the margin of error was less than 1%. This meant that about half of the people in the country who knew him supported him, and the other half opposed him. It was as if he was in the world of the internet, at the junction of ice and fire, representing the two levels of the world. If one could be like this, even if he was not a hero, he would be an ambitious person. Thinking about it, he was quite proud. The situation overseas was worse. There was no way to see it. There was really no way to see it. The language of the international friends was quite vicious. If it was someone who did not understand foreign slang, he would not be so angry, but he understood it all. Chen Guang. He was looking through the news when he suddenly heard a foreigner's very non-standard Chinese pronunciation, and he recognized it. Chen Guang turned his head to look to his side. The person who was talking to him was a blonde, handsome guy. He did not look old, but according to Chen Guang's understanding, he should be around 30 years old. He did not know where this man came from, but he should be very famous. After all, many people in the cafe had their eyes on him, and at the same time, they were whispering endlessly. His eyes were very sharp like an eagle's, and he was also quite tall, about 188 meters. At this moment, he was standing beside him and looking down, giving off a feeling of superiority. This guy seemed to be a big shot, after being scolded so many times on the internet. Chen Guang did not need to guess to know why he was here. It's me, and then? What can I do for you? The blonde man's lips curled up slightly, and there was an extremely disdainful smile on his face. My name is Ben Afflet. It seems like you don't know me? Chen Guang turned his face back to the computer, not even looking at him. I don't know many foreigners, of course not including you. If there's nothing else, you can leave now. I don't like to be disturbed. Ben's expression changed slightly. He did not expect this guy to really not recognize him. He was about to say something, but Chen Guang spoke again. Oh, I remember. I just saw your information not long ago. You're the male lead of Ling Sui's August, right? Ben Afflet's breathing became slightly heavier. It's July in Florence. Friend, your pronunciation is too bad. By the way, your movie doesn't have an English dub, right? Is it a subtitled version? Ben was right. Originally, women would have a dub, but before Big Beard Dang could record it, Chen Guang had already screened it in the United States. A Chinese movie without an English dub, and still trying to get an Oscar. Chen Guang was indeed unprecedented. What does this have to do with you? Don't you understand what I'm saying? Chen Guang tilted his head slightly and looked at him coldly. He did not care how famous this guy was. Anyway, he had already offended all the filmmakers. It was no big deal to catch one and make it worse. Moreover, this guy was like William Jones the other day, a direct competitor of his. Chen Guang pretended to be confused, but his mind was as clear as snow. Of course it has something to do with me. Are you here to be a clown? The thought of someone like you trying to get an Oscar makes me feel sick and nauseous. You've made Los Angeles a mess. Why don't you be smart and leave here early? Take you and your R&B and get lost. That way, you can at least look like a decent person. Otherwise, Chen Guang took a deep breath and narrowed his eyes. His expression changed. I'm sorry, I don't care what you scold me, but I can't stand being threatened. Chapter 1070. Ben Afflet's tone suddenly paused. As a top actor in the world, he had just called Chen Guang a clown. But in that instant, Chen Guang's gaze reminded him of another clown character. It was Heath Ledger's role as the Joker in Batman, The Dark Knight, one of the most iconic villains in the history of movies. Chen Guang's eyes were empty with madness, calm but filled with bloodthirsty murderous intent. Otherwise, I will personally take a photo of you tonight and post it on my social media account. Ben Afflet didn't know what was wrong with him. He wanted to say that he was going to beat him up, but the words came out like this. He really didn't want to admit that he had fallen into the fear of facing Satan because of a look from the other party. Chen Guang smiled. Then I really have to thank you. Remember to make me look more handsome, or I will sue you for violating my portrait rights. Get lost, see you at the Oscars. Ben Affleck was a world-renowned superstar, and he had never been treated like this before. He blushed and wanted to get angry subconsciously, but he was intimidated by Chen Guang's look just now. He looked back dejectedly, and then turned away with a livid face. Seeing that Bent had been humiliated, the others in the cafe gathered together and whispered. Most of them were complaining about Bent's injustice, thinking that Chen Guang lacked manners. Chen Guang's ears were sharp, and he curled his lips in disdain. He had been scolded so many times that he was completely numb. Who cares? A little anger just now had some benefits. At least the cafe owner, who had recognized him, didn't dare to drive him away. An hour later, Chen Guang returned to the hotel and changed into a suit and tie. He combed his beautiful hair like a waterfall, and after being carefully dressed by a top makeup artist hired by Lu Xiaoliang, he finally stood on the grand stage of the world premiere of Women. At this time, the lights behind him were bright, and the red carpet was dazzling. The edge of the giant poster behind him flashed with neon LED colors. The large LED countdown sign above his head showed that it was exactly 7:40 a time. Nearly 60 employees of the Tianguang Group in Los Angeles also stood on the red carpet all the way to his side. Everything looked so luxurious. Apart from the fact that it looked cold and shabby compared to the other two premieres, there was nothing wrong with it. Although the venue was not as big as the one for Women, it was still brightly lit. However, the exhibition's decorations and appearance were all secondary. When it came to holding a press conference or a premiere, it was all about the people. It was better to have an international superstar standing there than to have thousands of primary school students wave flags and shout battle cries. It was the same as in China, or even crazier. The European and American celebrities were standing there, waving their hands and nodding their heads. This was living popularity. For example, the former king of pop, Jackson, had countless fans all over the world. Wherever he went, as long as he was willing to appear in public, even in a remote mountain village, he would be tainted with his nobility. Any reporter or photography enthusiast could take a picture. As long as Jackson was in the picture frame, even if the house behind him was made of mud, he could still be on the cover of a fashion magazine without losing his reputation. Pop superstars had such influence, just like Watson, William Jones, Ben Affleck, Mars and Stone, who were smiling and waving their hands casually on the red carpets of the two opposite companies, could make the crowd scream crazily. Any one of them in the crowd could make everyone on Chen Guang's side feel suffocated. No matter how calm you looked, others would think that you were stubborn, and that it was useless. They probably wouldn't even have to wait until tomorrow morning. Now, the reporters and onlookers would rush over to take pictures or videos from time to time, after they finished taking pictures, and post the obvious contrast of the press conference on the internet. Chen Guang could imagine the headlines of these people. F***ck. Not a single person came. Chen Guang cursed. But face, go find some dogs. I want poodles. Lu Xiaoliang and Fang Tianyu were speechless. Boss, where is your calmness? Were they eaten by dogs? Or are you going to let the dogs eat them? Fang Tianyu said. Boss, isn't that a bit inappropriate? Lu Xiaoliang also tried to persuade him. Boss, it's settled. It's settled. Chen Guang waved his hand in boredom. Forget it. I tricked some people into coming, but it seems that they didn't come. Let's wait for another 5 minutes, and then we'll go back to the cinema. Cancel all the speeches we prepared. By the way, have you finished printing the first volume of World School? Lu Xiaoliang nodded. It's done. Boss, take a look. Chen Guang took the still warm first volume of World School of Performing Arts from Lu Xiaoliang. He flipped through it casually, and was quite satisfied. Previously, he was worried that things would be too hasty, so he could only get a printed bound book with extremely simple packaging. But now, the book in his hand was beautifully packaged with a plastic cover, and the artistic font of the title looked very classy. He opened it gently. The paper was thick and had a soft yellow color. The English words printed inside were clear and spaced reasonably. At first glance, This hastily written book of World School of Performing Arts was as exquisite as a work of art. Of course, what satisfied Chen Guang most was the cover of the book. As expected of the roundworm in his stomach, Buttface really had a good eye for judgment. Chen Guang looked at his big face on the cover. So handsome. Well photoshopped. Pooh. With my natural beauty. With my handsome face that looks like Pan An's, do I still need Photoshop? I don't need it. Placing the book back in Lu Xiaoyang's hands, Chen Guang replied, well done. Later, get a pretty lady to stand at the entrance of the theater and give it to everyone that enters. Make sure to make it clear that this is the first half of my performing arts monograph that we've been promoting. Lu Xiaoyang nodded silently. He didn't know whether he should say it or not. President Chen, in my opinion, the hundreds of books we printed today can only be used for the bonfire party tonight. Alas, it's beautiful, but we need it urgently. The cost is $33.7 per book. It's really painful for me to give them away like this. Lu Xiaoyang changed the way he said it. Chen Guang patted his shoulder calmly. It doesn't matter. I don't think we can give any of them away. Damn, Mr. Chen, you know your place pretty well. Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu rolled their eyes at the same time. At this moment, the red carpet ceremony outside the premiere of The Sunshine Man had just come to an end. The director and the main creator, William Jones, were standing on the stage to give a speech. They were about to lead their friends in the industry, as well as the heavyweights from the media, who had obtained the tickets to the premiere, to the #1 theater. In the blink of an eye, a large group of reporters and onlookers turned around and headed towards women. Further away, the despicable and shameless William Jones and the others did not turn around and head inside immediately. Instead, they took out binoculars out of nowhere and looked at women with great interest. Chen Guang's expression didn't change. He adjusted his expression and flicked his hair, putting on a calm smile on his face. They're coming to take pictures of me. Make them look more handsome. Chen Guang seemed to be talking to himself, but it also seemed like he was talking to Lu Xiaoyang and Fang Tianyu. Lu Xiaoyang, Fang Tianyu, and the other employees of Tianguang Group turned around and looked at his side profile. They didn't know why, but they felt a sense of desolation from his faint smile. When a tiger falls to the plains, it gets bullied by dogs. When a dragon swims in shallow waters, it gets swallowed by shrimps. The heroic President Chen was actually going to suffer such humiliation in a foreign country. Damn it. However, under such circumstances, he was still able to smile at them. This showed just how extraordinary President Chen was. If it was someone else, they would probably have run away and cried somewhere. All the employees of Tianguang Group looked at Chen Guang with an indescribable look in their eyes. Worship. No one knew what Chen Guang was thinking. To be honest, the old man was actually panicking. It didn't matter how much people mocked him. But based on the current trend, were they going to perform a reverse miracle of zero box office sales in North America? This wasn't good. Although he was 100% confident in his acting skills, he knew that once someone walked into the cinema and came out, even without the cooperation of a monograph, there was a high chance that they would become his tap water. This was also where his confidence came from. Before him, no one in the film industry had ever dared to say such things to him. Even old films that were now regarded as classics could not be praised by everyone when they were released. Just like the 4 great classical novels of today, the cultural dregs of the past, they were also created in controversy. Movies were, after all, a matter of opinion. Now, although Chen Guang was confident, he couldn't handle the fact that no one would watch it. No one would enter the cinema, and no one would see his acting skills. His amazing talent was completely covered in dust, and his meticulously prepared monograph, that would shock 7 billion people, couldn't be presented. This meant that he couldn't get any support from the tap water. It was like the world's #1 ballet dancer dancing on an empty stage. No matter how well she danced, she wouldn't be able to get a single applause. What was worse was that when the box office statistics came out the next day, it would either be 0, or there would only be a few people watching. What should he do then? The box office statistics were just that tragic. Even if he hired a water army or bribed film critics to praise him online, it wouldn't be able to move him. The reviews posted online by your film critics were more than your total box office. Who were you kidding? There was something that Chen Guang didn't say. He had just glanced at the box office for the premiere, and he hadn't seen wrongly. It was 0. Looking at the queue at the ticket office, everyone was the same. The ticket office was empty, without a single person. However, the tickets for the premieres of Sunshine and July had long been snatched up by the major media outlets. No one was queuing, because there were no tickets to sell. But for women, no one was buying tickets. At that moment, Chen Guang was extremely annoyed by the deep malice of his international friends. If he had known, he would have spent money to hire more people to watch it. Otherwise, he would have shouted a few times among the Chinese people. The old man had slightly underestimated the indifference of his international friends. Chen Guang really didn't want to admit that he had made a mistake. But now that things had come to this, it was too late for him to make up for it on the spot. Forget it. If the premiere collapsed, then so be it. Tomorrow, I'll obediently admit defeat. I'll spend money to hire people to go to the cinema, but I still have to keep up with the publicity. Today I've embarrassed myself. Tomorrow, even if the whole world knows that I'm shameless, I can only brag even more shamelessly. Anyway, the controversy was already big enough, so I might as well make it bigger. It was so big that people would have doubts in their minds, so that people would think in their hearts, why am I, Chen Guang, so arrogant? Let these people enter the cinema with the intention of criticizing. No matter what, they had no right to speak if they hadn't seen it for themselves. If these North American people wanted to scold with more layers, depth, and persuasiveness, they still had to go to the cinema. Chapter 1071. Chen Guang knew that no matter how unhappy those who disliked him were, they would walk into the cinema sooner or later. But they would not be satisfied with just attacking him as a person. The most likely target was still the movie. Chen Guang wanted to become an actor recognized by the world. If those people wanted to destroy his unrealistic dream, the best way was to attack his work. They would also think, I'm just going into the cinema alone. I won't be able to contribute much to the box office, so it doesn't matter if I go and watch. More and more people would walk into the cinema with this kind of thinking, which was actually a standard negative marketing idea. But these people who walked into the cinema with a nitpicking attitude would fall into Chen Guang's trap. If he really sat in the cinema for 2 hours, when he walked out, his mentality would change. That was Chen Guang's original plan, but he did not expect that he would go too far. The voices of resistance would be too loud, and the ideology would be too concentrated, resulting in such an awkward scene at the premiere. The premiere was like this, and he estimated that the other cinemas, which had a pitiful 0.67% screening rate, would not be much better. Forget it. Although this would indeed affect the subsequent development of the entire plan, it was like a spring. The more aggrieved and miserable it was today, the more violent the rebound would be when it hit the bottom. Chen Guang forced himself to comfort himself. While his mind was running wild, the reporter from the Sunshine Man finally rushed over after finishing his interview. After all, Chen Guang was notorious. The less courageous reporters picked up their cameras and pointed them at the platform of women from afar. The more courageous reporters, who wanted to dig out more in-depth information, rushed directly to the bottom of the stage, raised their microphones at Chen Guang from afar, and shouted loudly, "Mr. Chen from China, are you satisfied with your grand premiere? Mr. Chen, where did you find this red carpet? It's so beautiful. It's even more spacious than the Los Angeles Lakers court. Do you still think you can win the Oscar for Best Actor? We really want to know what kind of confidence you have that gives you the courage to say such a thing. Mr. Chen, although the American people have always been known for their tolerance, don't you think you're being a little too arrogant? How do you feel right now, facing such a comical premiere? Mr. Chen, we heard that you are going to publish a book related to performing arts. We really want to know where you learned performing arts. Your Yinjing Film Academy? Or the Central Academy of Drama? Or Is it like what is written in your Chinese martial arts novels, where you learn from a white-bearded old man who lives in seclusion in the mountains? When these reporters asked such questions, they did not expect Chen Guang to answer at all. They did not follow the order of a normal reporter's interview. Instead, they asked him one after another like a barrage of cannons. It looked like an interview, but it was actually crazy sarcasm. Halfway through their noisy questioning, they couldn't help but burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha. What a joke. This has completely overturned my impression of the Chinese. That's right. Fang Tianyu's face was livid. If Lu Xiaoliang had not held him back, he would have rushed up to beat them up. Fang Tianyu turned around and glared at Lu Xiaoliang. F***ck, aren't you angry? Lu Xiaoliang shrugged and quietly took out a cotton ball from his ear. I didn't even hear what they were saying. The two of them looked at Chen Guang, who was facing everyone's criticism. At that moment, even in the face of thousands of mockery, his expression did not change. He looked at the group of clowns in the audience with a smile. He even raised his hand and pressed it down. You have too many questions, so I won't answer them one by one. I will only say one thing. If you are just standing outside the theater and scolding me, then I will pretend that I didn't hear anything. If you really hate me so much, then go to the cinema and watch my movie first. Then, you can come and scold my movie and my people. This is much more interesting than scratching an itch like you guys are doing now. Also, I know you don't want to contribute to the box office. It's okay. I will personally announce that all the tickets for women at the Wuxia Theater in Hollywood are free. I will buy out all the tickets for you. How about that? The reporters had never encountered such an unruly person who laughed at them, so they looked at each other in dismay. Pfft! Don't expect us to watch your lousy movie even if you pay for it. That's right. Let's go, clowns. Humph. The reporters saw that Chen Guang was immune to their mockery and felt a little bored. They cursed and turned around to leave. Lu Xiaoliang and Fang Tianyu were stunned by Chen Guang's generosity. He was indeed the boss. He was so strong. The two of them moved closer to Chen Guang and touched his shoulder. Boss, how did you hold back? Chen Guang said. Huh? What did you say? He picked his ear as he spoke. Lu Xiaoliang and Fang Tianyu were confused. Boss, didn't you hear anything? Did you put something in your ear? Chen Guang smiled mysteriously. You guys are so naive. I told you I'm a martial arts master. I used my internal energy to block my hearing just now. I couldn't even hear thunder. The two of them. Impressive. Really impressive. William Jones, who was watching from a distance, had a smug smile on his face. William, we should go in. Stop watching this clown's performance. It's a waste of time. No. Sharon, this is interesting. It's even more interesting than me winning the Best Actor award in Berlin. I don't want to agree with you, but it's really interesting. Don't you think he's too pitiful? Emma, if he gets what he wants, we'll be the pitiful ones. He reminds me of Don Quixote by Cervantes. William Jones said. No, Emma, he's just as funny as Don Quixote, but he's not as great as Don Quixote. Yo, look, Mr. Josh Dan is going over. While the few of them were chattering, Donald Josh Dan, wearing a tuxedo, twisted his fat body and walked nimbly to the booth of women. He fulfilled his previous promise and really pulled back the reporters who were just about to disperse. He was immersed in the pleasure of dealing the finishing blow and looked at Chen Guang from afar. He thought to himself, I've said it before. I'll humiliate you. I'm going to tell everyone what you said that day in front of me, word for word. Will it be my honor to give you screening hall 14? You want me to witness the birth of a new era? I've never seen such a shameless person. In a sense, you do represent a new era. There shouldn't be anyone more shameless than you in the history of movies. This old man is showing off again. Boss, what should we do now? Lu Xiaoliang stood behind Chen Guang and asked nervously. Lu Xiaoliang knew how despicable Donald was. The boss could ignore the reporters and onlookers, but not Donald Josh Dan. If he completely ignored him, Chen Guang's image, which had already fallen to rock bottom, would worsen further. He would be described by the media as an arrogant, rude, and boorish man. However, if he ignored him, who knew if the old man had prepared a new trick to piss people off? It's okay, ignore him. I'm super calm now. Really? I promise no one will die. Feng Tianyu was speechless. Lu Xiaoyang said, why don't we leave? There's no need to let a villain get what he wants. It's 7:55 now, and the movie will start in 5 minutes. As the three of them chatted, Donald walked closer and closer. Suddenly, the reporters behind Donald started a commotion. The crowd gradually stopped in their tracks. More and more people turned their attention to the other side of the square. They were looking at the wide red carpet on the side of the stage of women. What are these people doing here? Oh my God! I didn't hear that they were coming. Is this a Christmas surprise? Donald, who was in the crowd, also stopped in his tracks. He turned his head and looked into the distance, following the gaze of the others. His mouth was wide open, and his face was full of confusion. Chen Guang and the others, who were mentally prepared to run away, or stand there, and be bombarded by Donald, also turned their heads to look at the end of the red carpet. After a brief moment of being stunned, Chen Guang suddenly grinned when he saw the black man, who was walking in front of the crowd, and waving at him from afar. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that in his most embarrassing and difficult time, a brother he had never considered would actually appear out of nowhere and become his savior. It was Bonner Pierce, the top coach in the North American boxing world, a veteran big shot. Behind him, walking all the way from the red carpet, were Mayweather, Mouthy Connor, John Cena, Big Brother Xiao, and other top fighters who were active in WWE, mixed martial arts, or professional boxing. They were world-class boxing superstars with tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of appearance fees. Although they were not as well known as entertainment stars, their fame and aura were not inferior to those in the entertainment industry. In fact, they were even better, because their fans were even more fanatical. It was evident from the incomparably fanatical and crazy expressions of the reporters, who had originally planned to laugh at him. Chen Guang suddenly realized that he had been too immersed in his own world and writing a book. He had only been thinking of ways to make a name for himself in the entertainment industry. Why didn't I think of it earlier? I could actually start from other avenues. Damn it, luckily Black Bro saved me. He didn't know how much he had done for him. But to be able to pull such a lineup for him at this moment, there was really no one else who could match his friendship. Donald stood in the crowd in a daze, his mind blank. Am I seeing things? Is there an international boxing all-star match in Los Angeles today? What are these lunatics doing here? Did they go to the wrong set and walk the wrong red carpet? In terms of fame, perhaps these boxing kings might not be as famous as movie stars or singers, but in terms of personal income and fanaticism of their fans, Mouthy Connor and the others were really enough to catch up to a few celebrities. The reporters had completely lost control and completely forgot their original purpose. They screamed and madly rushed toward the boxing all-star lineup led by Bonner Pierce. They ran madly, the spears in their hands flashing crazily. Chapter 1072. Further away, more than half of the fans who had been crowding around the stage of The Sunshine Man, which had just ended, had come out and were rushing over to the stage. In the United States, which advocated the philosophy of the strong, fighting superstars had an unimaginably large audience. In another corner, the halfway through the premiere of July in Florence, was even more awkward. The stars who were enjoying the attention and spotlight of countless fans suddenly realized that more than half of the people in front of them had run away. Well, this was not the most awkward thing. The most awkward thing was that at the booth of Sunshine, several stars who were supposed to be in the theater for the premiere were screaming and rushing over like ordinary fans. Well, it was the same for July. Stars would also worship stars, especially superstars who crossed industries. Just like how Kobe and Messi appreciated each other, and how Jordan and Jackson regretted not meeting each other earlier. If it was just one or two fighting superstars, it probably wouldn't have caused such a sensation. However, the lineup behind Bonner Pierce was too luxurious. It included boxing champions from all major fighting fields, from WWE to K1, and from the lightweight to heavyweight boxing champions. There were at least 50 or 60 people, and each of them was very important. To each their own. There was bound to be one that suited you. This group of people together, according to their net worth, was like a moving $100 billion. The smile on Bent Affolet's face froze like cold water splashed into a pile of snow in winter. Donald's shoulder was bumped several times by the passing reporters, and he almost fell to the ground. He shouted in exasperation, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" On the other side, William Jones struggled to pull the young man next to him, the second male lead of Sunshine. "Baluan, are you crazy? Calm down. Calm down. This is our premiere." The onlookers had already rushed to the periphery of the fighting all-star lineup. Fortunately, these people had more or less brought bodyguards. The strong bodyguards formed a line hand in hand, forming a human wall that blocked all the reporters and the crowd outside. The fast-moving onlookers screamed as they pulled out their phones and clicked on the all-star lineup. They couldn't wait to share the scene in front of them on their social networks. "Elena, look who I ran into. Look at what kind of people they are. Oh my God. I'm so happy that I'm going crazy. Son, come to the plaza outside the Wuxia Theater in Hollywood. Your favorite verbal cannon, Connor, is here." And so on and so forth. The super luxurious all-star lineup drove everyone into a frenzy. The smile on Chen Guang's face became brighter and brighter. "Brother, you're the best. You've saved my life. How proud." The comfort in his heart wasn't any worse than the old man's comfort when he was in the realm of true martial arts and held the position of martial saint in his hands. At that moment, only the employees of the Tianguang group remained calm. The reason was very simple. They were extremely puzzled. "We didn't contact these big shots. If I'm not wrong, any one of the all-star lineup should have an appearance fee of more than $500,000. That's a moving appearance fee of $25 million. We don't have such an exaggerated budget for a premiere, right?" Lu Xiaoyang muttered to himself. "D***MN. What kind of luxurious lineup is this? An all-star lineup of WWE, UFC and professional boxing? Boss, is today Muhammad Ali's anniversary? Or did these brothers come to the wrong place? Are they next door?" Fong Tianyu nodded vigorously. "That's right, that must be it. The other side's budget is through the roof. I've finally seen a tycoon who's more prodigal than you, boss." Chen Guang gave the two of them a kick each. "Go to hell, they're all on the same side. Brothers, you're all here because of this old man's face. This face of the old man can be sold for tens of millions of US. Lu Xiaoyang and Fong Tianyu were silent. Then, they stared intently at Chen Guang's face. "No, what we're looking at is not a face. It's a shiny, shiny cash. Boss, your face is going through the roof, isn't it? Your face is definitely gilded. Can't you see who these people are?" At this moment, Chen Guang was also puzzled. He had no idea what method Pierce used to convince these people. Forget it, that's not important. What's important is that they're here. Today's situation is under control. No matter what, tonight's news is going to be written. Finally, the internet isn't full of negative reports. Bro Pierce, you helped me a lot. Make the arrangements immediately. Scatter flowers. Take pictures. Write a press release. Give out books to everyone. That's right, give out books. We can't afford it if we don't give out money." Chen Guang waved his hand and instructed as he walked to the center of the stage to welcome Bonner Pierce with a smile. The two approached each other and gave each other a bear hug. Chen Guang whispered into the black man's ear, "Mr. Pierce, how did you do it? Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Bonner Pierce smiled and patted Chen Guang's back. "It's simple. I told them that you're the world's strongest fighting king, no matter in which field." They weren't convinced at first. Then, I showed them the video of you testing the machine at my villa. They were all shocked. Then, I told them that you didn't even use your full strength at that time. They were even more shocked. I told them that if they were willing to help you, you would teach them how to use force. As for why I didn't tell you in advance, don't you feel surprised? How is it? Exciting, right? Chen Guang nodded. Pierce had grasped these people's weakness. That's why he could fool them. At their level, what they lacked was not money but power. More powerful power. It was more precious than gold. Of course, Pierce's identity was also very important. He was a big shot in the North American boxing world, and a top boxing coach with a wide range of contacts. Only his words were credible. Everyone in the fighting and boxing world knew what kind of person Bonner Pierce was. He would never joke about his personal credibility. If it were anyone else, there would be people in the world who could beat 10 of you. They would probably be pressed to the ground by Connor and the others and repeatedly rubbed until their parents couldn't recognize them. Chen Guang was very grateful. He patted Bonner's back tacitly. "Thank you. Mr. Pierce, you've helped me a lot. It's so exciting. My heart almost stopped beating." Bonner Pierce smiled. "Actually, I heard that you played a retired boxer in your movie. I'm very sorry that I didn't get to see you fight professionally. It was a very rare experience to see you play a boxer in a movie. I still remember the first time we met. You were performing Ali's butterfly moves in the coffee shop. I'll never forget that scene for the rest of my life. Although you're Asian, I think you look more like Ali than Will Smith. Thank you for your encouragement. You're almost the first American to truly recognize my acting skills. Don't be discouraged. When Will Smith wanted to play Ali, we laughed at him like crazy. You're being doubted now because people don't understand you. You're always challenging different fields. I like your constant challenging of the impossible. You're a very different Wuxia person. Alright, we've been hugging each other for too long. Let's go and welcome our other friends. Otherwise, people will think we have some special relationship. Okay. Chen Guang turned around and greeted the many big men warmly. Among them were a few acquaintances he had met at Pierce's house. Meeting them again now was quite a unique feeling. After all the martial arts superstars stood on the stage one after another, Chen Guang cupped his hands. Everyone, thank you. Thank you. Chen Guang had originally planned to express his gratitude to these martial arts big shots excitedly. However, since Pierce had already bragged about his abilities, he could not let down the title of the world's strongest martial artist. He had to show the demeanor of a Wuxia master. Many of the martial arts big shots did not stand on ceremony with him. One by one, they learned his Wuxia etiquette and cupped their hands. Chen Guang's face was filled with a big smile. No matter who it was, even if it was a few beggars at this time, it would be a life-saving grace to him. What's more, these people were extremely popular. What about a top big shot? Although in terms of real martial arts, these people combined might not even be enough to fill the gaps between Chen Guang's teeth. However, what he needed now was famous reinforcements, not how good they were at fighting. He was very satisfied with the current show's effect. Very satisfied. There was only one flaw. Bonner Pierce, that black bro, should have informed him earlier. His little heart was scared out of its wits. Chen Guang, who was standing in the crowd, cast his gaze to the back of the crowd below the stage. There stood Donald Joshdan alone. The old man's face turned green and white. Even a blind man could see how embarrassed he was. He had already asked around in the entertainment industry. Indeed, there was no heavyweight who had accepted the invitation of women. Since yesterday, he had been waiting to see today's joke. However, he did not expect that even though there was no one from the entertainment industry, the big shots in the martial arts and martial arts circles who had come were not any less influential than the entertainment industry. Damn it! This group of well-developed but simple-minded idiots. You will ruin the movie. Do you think you're helping him? You'll become the sinners of the entire movie industry. You'll be deserted by everyone. Donald waved his hand fiercely and turned to leave. There was nothing he could do. Chen Guang cast his gaze to a place further away. It was William Jones and the others, who had been so proud of themselves. They had finally calmed down their friend, who was about to lose control of his emotions. The group of people turned around and walked into the cinema dejectedly. At this moment, the most embarrassed people were probably the crew of July and Florence, who were still walking the red carpet. The smile on Ben Affleck's face had already completely frozen on the spot, and the other main creative team and premier guests around him were not much better. Although there were still some hardcore fans in the crowd, and a few media reporters who had not left, who knew what they would write when they went back. The security guards who had been hired to maintain order on the rather luxuriously decorated stage, and the edge of the red carpet looked bored. There were only a few people in front of them. The people of July finally understood a little of what Chen Guang was feeling. It felt as if they were dressed up and confidently appeared on stage. But the audience booed. Damn clowns, a bunch of clowns. They must have taken money from the Chinese people. They are a disgrace to the upper class. A disgrace. Bent Affleck spat heavily on the red carpet beside him. The other people of July nodded. They did not think about how awkward it would be for Chen Guang to be targeted like this. They only thought that they were unhappy and wronged. Forget it, let's go in. The premiere is over. Our premiere is over. Bent sighed. He knew that cursing would not help. At this moment, another group of people appeared at the end of the red carpet for women. Chapter 1073. Chen Guang looked over from afar. He was stunned at first, then overjoyed. It's Tang Ying. Why is she here? Of course, if it was just Tang Ying, Chen Guang would be happy but not happy. However, there were many silver-haired old men beside Tang Ying. Although Chen Guang did not know these people, judging from the way they walked, he subconsciously felt that they should be of high status. Pierce, who was behind Chen Guang, immediately identified the person and answered Chen Guang's doubts. Strange, why is the president of Moreland's Medical College here? Chen Guang quietly turned his head. Mr. Pierce, do you know them? Pierce nodded vigorously. Of course, the president of Moreland's Medical College is the most famous sports medicine expert in the United States. I also know the one beside him, the best oncologist in the United States. Oh, and Mr. Bryant, the president of another medical college, the best brain doctor in the world. If you want to hire him for surgery, no amount of American dollars will move him. He must be happy. Oh my God. As a top boxing coach, Bonner Pierce obviously had a deep understanding of the European and American medical community. He could recognize about half of the dozen old men and women beside Tang Ying. Although he could not recognize the other half, they should be of the same level in the medical community. What are these people doing here? While Bonner was thinking about this, Chen Guang had already taken the lead to greet them. He and Tang Ying gave each other a big hug in accordance with the American etiquette. Bonner suddenly realized that they were all on Chen Guang's side, just like him. Sister Tang Ying, what's going on? I heard that you're about to embarrass yourself. We just settled the matter of the Joint Research Institute a couple of days ago. Coincidentally, my supervisor and I are attending a medical conference in Los Angeles. It's very close, so I was thinking of inviting them over to watch a movie. You have to be more humble and act like a junior. There are 2 winners of the Nobel Prize in Medicine among them. Chen Guang's expression instantly brightened. A Nobel Prize winner was already worthy of respect, let alone a Nobel Prize in Medicine that saved lives. Although these old gentlemen were not as famous as the Brawl Kings, they were more influential. It can't be that simple, right? How did you convince them? Don't they know I'm stinking? I showed them the video of you competing in the World Arm Wrestling competition. I also told them that you are a senior official of China, and no one can force you to do anything. If we want you to cooperate with us, we have to return the favor first. Besides, these old pedants don't really care about the gossip in the entertainment industry. Chen Guang immediately understood. F***CK, you're selling my genes just like that. Forget it, this is not important. In any case, this old man no longer has to worry about being used as a guinea pig. Tang Ying is right. If you want to obtain this old man's essence, Apui genes, then you have to make this old man happy first. Will there be high-frequency gene harvesting in the future? I'm afraid my body won't be able to keep up. Scram. Dream on. One harvest is enough to last you for a few months, and I'm the only one harvesting it. Do you hear me? Okay. We've been hugging for too long. Chen Guang quickly let go of Tang Ying and greeted the group of old men and women behind him. They shook hands and chatted cordially. After greeting everyone, Chen Guang felt a chill down his spine. F***CK. I should avoid making friends with people in the medical field in the future. I feel like they're looking at me like I'm a specimen soaked in formalin. The media reporters and spotlights were still flashing nonstop. Unlike Chen Guang's ignorance, the well-informed media immediately recognized the principal and two other Nobel Prize winners. The reporters almost went crazy. Just what kind of groundbreaking movie premiere did we just get to witness? Although the guests had almost nothing to do with the movie, this was a bit too much. Even our comrade Ao Guanhai had to make an appointment to meet these big shots in the medical field. They actually gathered together to attend the premiere of a Wuxia movie. At this time, the countdown had reached 7:58, 2 minutes before the movie premiere. The superstars of the fighting and boxing world had already been led inside by the staff of the Tianguang group. On the stage, it was the medical giants who appeared. But this was not the end. Another group of people appeared. Chen Guang continued to look up. There were another 10 people, tall and short, fat and thin, ranging from middle-aged to old. The people who came were people he had defeated before. The world's top pianist, Raven Holland, the beautiful Portuguese pianist, Cristina, the French piano master, Pires, the American piano master who had also lost to him, and many others he did not know at all. Finally, a big shot who was related to the entertainment industry, but not the movie industry, had appeared. Chen Guang did not expect that these people who had lost to him in the past would stand up for him with such a clear attitude when he was deserted by the whole world. This was all a pleasant surprise. You guys gave me face today, but in fact, you guys recognized me as a person. If not for today's special occasion, Chen Guang would not have thought that he would be so popular. However, this was not the end. Behind the big shots of the piano world, another dense group of people appeared. Chen Guang clenched his fists, showing that he was stunned. Dominic Diesel walked at the front, followed by Pan Junyao from Thailand, Speed from the Rainforest from Brazil, Frank from Detroit, and so on. 6 of the top 10 underground car kings who had a duel with Chen Guang had come. There were 3 or 4 people beside them. They seemed to be keeping a low profile beside the kings of the underground racing world, but the knowledgeable reporters recognized them at a glance. They were this year's newly crowned F1 champion Hamilton, the WRC Rally champion, Baralt, and the Dakar Rally champion Mendeleev. The big shots of the racing world had also come to support Chen Guang. Behind them, there was a group of middle-aged men and women in uniforms. Chen Guang looked at their uniforms and the familiar faces walking at the front and recognized them. They were the big shots of the civil aviation world, the CEOs of several civil aviation groups around the world. Behind this group of big shots in uniforms, there was a group of young and old men and women. Chen Guang also remembered them. They were the big shots of the global linguistics world, who had dealt with him at the World Language Conference and ended up parting on bad terms. He thought that he would not have to deal with them again, but he did not expect them to come quietly. Obviously, the monograph he wrote later had a great impact on them. Although because of their age and skin color, these people were not willing to express their recognition, gratitude, and appreciation on social media. They were still grateful and recognized his great contribution in linguistics. This was not the end. Behind this group of language experts and scholars, there was a group of young people. The young people obviously did not expect that there would be such a big scene today. They were a little reserved under the cameras and flashes of the reporters, and their footsteps on the red carpet were slightly shaky. Chen Guang could see that they seemed to be retreating. They seemed to regret coming here today. They were not very confident. Therefore, Chen Guang directly stepped over everyone who was walking over and waved at these young people from afar. The youngsters' spirits were immediately lifted, and they followed closely behind the linguists. These young people were the world's top Dota players in America at this time. Comrade Mao Yongren, Babiv RTZ, and so on. Although they were not famous among ordinary people, they were extremely popular among the young people, especially in the Dota player circle. On the other side, many young people ran under the stage of July. Both sides were their idols, and after weighing the two, they still felt that they liked esports more. In just a few minutes, the originally incomparably shabby premiere of Women had become a dazzling scene. Although these celebrities had almost nothing to do with the movie, all the guests added up, whether it was the weight or the grandeur. It was not inferior to the opening ceremony of Paris Fashion Week. This kind of extravagance was more than enough to support a mere movie premiere. Chen Guang looked calm on the surface, but he was already laughing in his heart. The old man's years of doing good deeds had not been in vain after all. There were still many people in this world who recognized him. The brains of the movie's main cast and guests had already crashed. William Jones and the others sitting in the cinema were not much better. Donald, who had simply run straight home, was even more exasperated. He had seen everything through the photos and videos sent by the theater staff. Although the premiere at his Hollywood Wuxia theater was of a higher level, in a sense, it also made him proud. But that was not what he wanted. Damn it! Donald's heart was filled with indescribable regret. If he had known this would happen, he would not have given women such a large venue. He should have given him a small corner. Now he had gone for wool and come home shorn. Instead, he had made this shameless Chinese proud. Every time women had a heavyweight guest, it was a hard slap to the faces of Donald and the other filmmakers. This meant that the entire movie industry had disregarded everything and joined forces to boycott Chen Guang's movie. But they had suffered a heavy blow. In order to organize a good premiere, how much did Chen Guang spend? A few $100 million? No wonder he had always been so confident. It turned out that he had already prepared for this. That damn despicable person. Jenny! Jenny! Where are you? Bring me the heart medicine. Sir, Madam went out with her friends from the community service station 5 minutes ago. She said that she was going to participate in a charity event. Your medicine is with me, the old maid said respectfully, and took out a medicine bottle from her pocket. Chapter 1074. Donald lost control of his emotions and smashed his phone on the floor. I told her to just stay at home. Why did she have to participate in that damned community service? She's wasting her life. Sir, do I need to pass on your message to Madam? No. I was just joking. Please don't tell Jenny. After the maid left in a seemingly respectful manner, but was actually trying to hold back her laughter, Donald sighed again. He thought of his wife who was fierce, but did not like to manage the family's affairs. She was an extremely devout believer of the religion, and only indulged in community activities. He felt another headache coming on. Guys, hurry up. It's almost time, Mrs. Joshdan. We've been waiting for you for too long. I'm sorry, everyone. I just had a phone call with my son in Boston. Oh yeah, what are we going to do today? Watch a movie. Movie. No, I hate movies. My old man only knows how to show movies, and my stupid son only knows how to make movies. I get a headache whenever I hear the word movie. No. This is a movie from China. Also, Mrs. Joshdan, I have to tell you a piece of good news. Your husband, Mr. Joshdan, wants this movie to have no audience at all. Recently, he has been going around asking his friends to boycott this movie. Really? Then why should we help him? Actually, it's my niece's request. She feels that the Chinese man is too pitiful. Jenny Joshdan said, All right, since it's a movie that even my husband wants to boycott, then I really want to watch it. If Donald, who was sulking at home until he had a heart attack, knew that the community service that his precious wife, Jenny, participated in was actually to watch women, he would probably pass out from anger. At 8:05 p.m., the world premiere of Women finally started after a delay of 5 minutes, after a few twists and turns. The VIPs who followed did not stand on the red carpet or the stage for long for the media. Other than the Pierce Squad and the Pianist Squad, who came first, the VIPs who came later did not have stage fright, but did not have much interest in being celebrities on the runway. Time did not allow for it either. They just took a few simple photos for the media, and then went into the cinema one after another. All the uninvited guests had just taken their seats, and the film had already begun, when Madame Joshdan and her friends from the community service station arrived, led by the German girl and her aunt. Because of Chen Guang's promise, Screening Hall 14 skipped the process of checking the tickets. However many people from the community came, they would be allowed in, and everyone would be given a copy of the first volume of World Faction. Screening Hall 14, which could only accommodate 150 people, was filled to the brim. Including everyone, there were exactly 150 people. As for the reporters who changed their minds and wanted to attend the premiere, they were stopped outside by Chen Guang. The reason was simple. Although he used the face fruit to turn the tables at the crucial moment, this was only the first step in his counterattack. From now on, everything he did had to be more purposeful. Letting the reporters in today seemed like a good idea, but in fact there was great potential danger. The preconceived and unscrupulous media personnel were harder to convert than the ordinary audience. Although there would definitely be some people who would become true fans of the movie, there would definitely be people who would be stubborn or greedy. Tomorrow, they would still criticize women with their brilliant writing. However, Chen Guang only needed to let the media people report on the premiere, and that was enough positive publicity. As for the real standard of the movie, there was no need for them to tell him for now. Even if they would lose part of the tap water, they would be able to avoid negative news first. The benefits of tap water were not as big as the disadvantages of the brainless haters. Not to mention the media people who were born with crooked butts. With his current popularity, the media people who came out of the cinema to write positive reports would be regarded as being paid to do things. But the media people who wrote negative reports would be regarded as having the conscience of the industry. Although this was unavoidable, there was no need to let them in since it was the world's first premiere, which was held 12 hours earlier than in China. Tomorrow, the situation at the Los Angeles premiere would be seen by all the major media, but only a few people went to watch it, and the media would not say anything about it. The international friends of Demi would definitely be very curious, and drive them to the cinema to find out what was going on. What exactly was this super bad movie that was going to be splattered all over the world? Chen Guang calculated in his heart and determined that the benefits of rejecting the media first outweighed the disadvantages by 5%. That's right, it was that precise. As for the ordinary audiences that the German girl tricked from the community service station, Chen Guang did not particularly care about how much tap water these people could produce. If the number of people did not reach a certain level, it would seem insignificant. Standing at the entrance of the theater and listening to the prelude of the music, Chen Guang finally relaxed and let out a long breath when everything was on track. Lu Xiaoliang, who was standing next to him, saw this and asked, "Boss, now is not the time to rest, right? Although the premiere is full, the attendance at other places tonight won't be that high, right? Although we have a lot of big names helping us, it still needs time to ferment if we want to create a sensation on social media. We won't be able to make it in time for the 10:30 public screening, and there's no hope for the midnight screening after 12 o'clock. If we want to turn the attendance around, we'll have to wait until tomorrow at the earliest, right?" Chen Guang smiled and waved his hand. "It doesn't matter. Take your time. Everything is under control." Lu Xiaoliang looked at his confident smile and did not know what to say. Forget it, the boss has always been like this. But then again, the situation today was miraculously turned around. Although he did not do anything, didn't this mean that the boss was the son of Providence? He won by lying down. The boss was not only capable, but his luck was also heaven-defying. He should be more confident. If he was not confident, then shouldn't the rest of us hang ourselves? Lu Xiaoliang could not understand. In fact, the moment Theater 14 was full, Chen Guang had completely foreseen the situation in the next few days. Outside the theater, the reporters had not left yet. Inside the theater, some of the crew members who had just finished the premiere had not left yet. There were also some big names in the media circle who had attended other movie premieres, and they were also watching with great interest. Although they did not attend the premiere of Women, if they could get first-hand dirt from the audience, it would be an important report that could expand their influence. The crowd stood in groups of 2s and 3s in the theater aisle, whispering to each other. "It's 8:25 now. I bet $10 that someone will come out of Theater 14 within 5 minutes. I bet $100. 10 minutes. I bet $1,000. 5 minutes. Mr. Diaz, what do you think? You guys bet yourselves. I'm not interested. I'm a little sleepy. And I'm going to the hotel to rest. Markov, say hello to the dean of Wesley College for me. No problem, but I have to wait for a while. What? Are you worried that this movie from Wuxia will affect you? Don't joke around. You are not in the same genre. You don't have to care about them. No, Cameron. I got Theater 7 from them. I don't know why, but I feel a little uneasy. Do whatever you want. The big shots in the media world didn't have the same worries as the film director. Now that everyone knew about the amazing scene at the premiere of Women, they also knew what kind of people were sitting in the number 14 screening hall. Apart from the dozens of old men and women in the community, the other guests were important enough to support a Dior, Louis Vuitton, or Bentley's global new product launch. They were surprised by the Chinese's unconventional approach. Since the people in the entertainment circle were boycotting him, he found guests from other places. And they were even more important. They were also happy that they finally had a new topic to write about. When the important guests left in advance, they, the big names in the media circle, would be able to directly interview them in the theater and let them express their feelings. This was a good thing for the new reporters, who were stuck outside but could not get it. Some people were thinking about their position, wondering if they should change their position and speak for women and Chen Guang. At the same time, there were also people pondering how they should ask questions to guide the interviewee's thoughts, so that the interviewee would fall into a trap and say something that could be taken out of context to attack Chen Guang. If they could dig out some unfavorable information from the F1 champion, the WRC champion, and the superstars, they could use it to make a big article. Even the guests who had received Chen Guang's USD couldn't stand his movie. Thinking about it, was there anything worse than this? No one in the media thought that the guests of Women would appear for free. They silently estimated the appearance fee that Chen Guang could pay. Except for the big names in the medical circle whose value could not be accurately estimated, especially the two Nobel Prize winners, the appearance fee of the others would probably add up to hundreds of millions of USD, right? Not to mention this kind of movie premiere, which had its own negative impact on one's personal image. Stupid Chinese. Do you think you can control everything with money? Do you think you can turn the tables by finding some famous people? Don't you know that the higher the status of the people you find, and the more important they are, the harder it is to control their mouths? Don't you know that an ordinary person saying that your movie is not good 10,000 times is not as good as a simple word boring thrown by an authority in any field? Time passed bit by bit. In the aisles of the theater, people who chose to watch other movies came and went. The main production team of some movies could not stand the harassment of fans along the way and quietly retreated, but the big names in the media circle did not waver. Gradually, they found that the situation was a little wrong. Half an hour passed, and no one came out of Theater 14. An hour passed and still no one came out. Chapter 1075. Some people tried to sneak up to the door of Screening Hall 14 to see what was going on, but they were stopped by countless burly bodyguards. What the hell? Why didn't anyone leave early? How would I know? Did the Wuxia people put superglue on their chairs? Did they stick their butts on it? It's not impossible. An hour and a half later, I'm already planning to write a script. An unprecedented scandal in the history of the film industry. Crazy Wuxia tycoons put their guests under house arrest in the screening hall to let people finish watching their trashy movie. What do you think of my title? It's pretty good, but you're too slow. I've already written it, and the meaning is similar to yours. I'll send it to the chief editor after the premiere. Can you two stop joking around? Would you dare to put a Nobel Prize winner under house arrest, even if you had 10 guts? And the CEOs of several airline companies around the world? Oh, and Big Shio, Mouthy Connor, John Sinon and Hamilton? What else? Can you give us a more reasonable explanation? Chen Guang's movie is especially good? How can these big shots whose time is like gold be reluctant to leave? That's ridiculous. As far as I know, many guests at premieres often just go through the motions at the beginning and leave very quickly. They can't finish watching the movie in the first place, This is the established rule in the industry. It's too hard to understand why these big shots would sit in the theater for 2 hours. Do you know how much Mouthy Connor gets to attend a fashion brand launch that only lasts for half an hour? $800,000. But they really haven't come out yet. Finally, a full 2 hours passed. The door of screening hall 14 opened with a loud bang. There was no scene that the reporters and the main producers of the other movies had imagined, and no one rushed out of the door. Everyone thought that the audience who was locked inside would flee in panic. Now they realized that they were wrong. The first to walk out were the big shots of the medical world. Each of them held a book in their hands and looked dazed. The atmosphere was extremely solemn. No one communicated with each other, nor did they whisper. They just frowned and fell into deep thought. Behind the big shots of the medical world were linguists and pianists. These people also seemed to be possessed. All of them were silent and had a book in their hands. The big shots of the media circle pounced on them in a frenzy. Mr. Neuer, may I ask if your personal freedom is restricted in the theater? Mr. Velan, how do you feel about this movie? Do you think Chen Guang's performance in the movie is worthy of an actor? Countless questions were fired from the mouths of the big shots in the media circle towards the big shots and the audience. Fortunately, the bodyguards brought by the fighting superstars were very strong. They formed 2 human walls and blocked all the reporters outside. Of course, these were all giants in the academic world. Unlike ordinary celebrities, the reporters did not dare to be as impulsive as they were to entertainment figures. But no one answered their question. It was as if they had lost their minds and were completely immersed in their own world, not paying attention to what was happening outside. The reporters' punches all hit the air, and they couldn't help but look at each other. What happened in the theater? This doesn't make sense, right? Even if it was a normal person, after watching a movie, they would more or less say something when asked by others. What was going on with them now? Could it be that the Wuxia people had drugged the theater and made everyone faint for 2 hours? That's even more ridiculous. This will land him in jail for a long time. What kind of trick did he use? A mysterious power from the east? Everyone in the theater was hypnotized. Finally, when some young faces appeared at the back of the crowd, the reporters and the other film staff watching the situation saw some different expressions. These young esports players were very excited. Behind the esports players were many big names in the martial arts circle. They were even more excited than the esports players. Mr. Sinan, may I ask if this movie? It's amazing. It's incomparable. I can't find any words to describe how perfect it is. I swear I've never seen such a perfect performance in my life. No, it can't even be called a performance anymore. Mr. Chen showed us the whole world. By the way, if you have the chance, I suggest you buy his book. It's the one in my hand. Before the reporter could finish his question, Sinan had already interrupted him and waved the first volume of World Faction in his hand. Mr. Sinan, what happened to the movie? The reporters continued to ask, unwilling to give up. The strong Sinan had a mischievous smile on his face. He blinked and said, "Why are you asking me? Can't you afford to pay for a movie ticket?" Mr. Damon from the Washington Post. Sorry, my mind is full of movies now. I can't wait to go back to the hotel and find a quiet place to read Mr. Chen's book. Sorry, I have to go. Sinan left quickly after saying that, even though the person who asked him was actually an acquaintance of his in the media circle. Further ahead, young esports players were also being interviewed. They were 10 times more excited than John Sinan. The reporters, who were trying to dig out some dirt from these people, found that they couldn't find an entry point to discredit the movie from the mouths of the brainless fans, who were so excited that they were talking incoherently about Chen Guang's movie. Perfect. It's never been so perfect. Chen Guang is the real best actor. I swear. Mao Yongren said. I'm proud that I have the same skin color and race as him. Don't ask me anything, and I don't want to talk to anyone. I've never liked movies, but tonight I realized how shallow I am. You really should buy tickets to go to the cinema, or you'll regret it for the rest of your life. The reporters didn't expect such a scene at all. The people who came out of the screening hall were acting so strangely. Did you mistakenly enter the legendary Amway group and get lectured? You guys are very abnormal. The reporters had seen classic movies with good reputation and box office, but they had never seen such a good movie that could make celebrities shamelessly flatter it without any bottom line. For a person like Sinan, even if he was paid, he couldn't brag about a bad movie like this. Otherwise, his personal image would be greatly damaged. This couldn't be called a good movie at all. This was Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, right? Finally, the old men, women, and aunties from the community service station filed out at the back of the crowd. The reporters thought to themselves, we may not get a fair evaluation from the guests who have been paid, but it should be okay for us to interview the ordinary audience, right? They were doomed to get nothing from the celebrities, so they could only count on the ordinary audience. A noble woman dressed in luxurious clothes was surrounded by many people from the community service station. The reporters undoubtedly noticed her at the first moment. May I ask this beautiful lady, what do you think of the movie you watched today? The plump lady tidied up her slightly fluffy blonde hair, blushed, and said excitedly, I don't know how to express my feelings at this time, but I can't wait to invite everyone in the world to the cinema. Wait a minute, aren't you Mrs. Joshdan? Someone recognized the noble woman. Jenny Joshdan didn't feel that there was a problem at all. She pointed to her face and said, I am indeed Jenny Joshdan. Is there a problem? Isn't your husband? The reporter was slightly embarrassed. He wanted to say something but stopped. As a well-informed reporter in the industry, he naturally knew that Donald and his wife didn't get along. One was a crazy old man from the Joshdan family who loved movies, and the other was a lady from the aristocratic Edward family who hated movies. Their marriage from the beginning was a huge mistake. This was a taboo in the media circle. Whoever mentioned it would be hated by the petty Donald. Donald is Donald and I am me. But you used to hate movies. The reporter finally couldn't hold it in. Ginny was stunned at first, but she didn't get angry. Instead, she smiled and said, That's right, but that was in the past. From tonight onwards, I've changed my mind. I admit that movies are actually a very good art. In the past, I did hate movies for no reason, because I felt that this D*Ned thing first took away my husband, and then my son. But today, I understand that what I hate is only bad movies. The movies in the past weren't enough to make me feel moved and intoxicated. Now, I can roughly understand why my stubborn husband and equally stubborn son were willing to work so hard for this art. As soon as Madame Joshdan said that, the reporters and the other crew members who were eavesdropping at the side were completely stunned. In a sense, this was probably the highest praise that could possibly appear on Earth. It was only a 2-hour movie, yet Mrs. Joshdan, who hated movies and was said to have been a domestic abuser of Donald for more than 20 years, had a change of heart. The most outrageous thing was that she actually said that all the movies in the past were bad movies. And that was why she hated movies. Do you know how many people you've offended by saying that? You've negated all the works in the history of the human film industry for more than 100 years. All for the sake of today's movie. What's worse is that this movie has completely overshadowed your husband and son's decades of persistence. You're actually starting to understand their dreams? This is an AF*King movie. It's a hallucinogenic drug, right? Finally, the reporter who asked the first question reacted, and found another hot topic in time. Madam Joshdan, does this mean that you'll support your husband and son's career in the future? Madam Joshdan thought about it. Not necessarily. Alright, I have to go home. I have a lot to talk to Donald about. After Jenny finished speaking, she turned to look at a huge camera at the side. It was a live broadcast from the Los Angeles Entertainment Channel. She pointed at the camera. Donald, I know you're watching TV. Don't fall asleep before I get home. Look at the book in my hand. You really have to learn it well. I'll also have a good discussion with you about the movies that you want to persevere in. After saying that, Jenny held the first volume of World's Pie in front of the camera. She paused for a few seconds before putting the book away. Then, she walked further and further away, surrounded by her fellow community members. Chapter 1076. At that moment, Donald, who was sitting in front of the TV, almost fainted. His hands trembled as he picked up the heart medication and threw it into his mouth. My God! He felt like he had seen a ghost. At the same time, he was considering whether he should run away from home. He was worried that he would not be able to see the sun rise the next day when his wife came back. Meanwhile, the reporters finally saw the cover and title of the book. World School of Performing Arts. Shocking. Alright, the long list of names was too long. Don't mind the details. The book was beautifully packaged, but it did not show the name of the publisher. It was probably a printed product produced by the Wuxia tycoon, Chen Guang, at his own expense. It could not be considered a publication. But what the hell was with the cover photo? That Wuxia man, Chen Guang himself? How shameless must you be to print your own photo on the cover of a book like that? Is this the performing arts monograph that you were talking about? I don't care how you wrote it, or what you wrote in it, or whether you wrote it yourself. But isn't it a little too shameless to use your own photo on the cover? You could probably land on the moon if you were to fold your skin in half. At that moment, Chen Guang was still standing at the entrance of Theater 14 with a smile. He greeted everyone who came out of the theater warmly and expressed his gratitude. When most of the people had left, and the bodyguards had left one after another, he walked out surrounded by the employees of the Tianguang group. Mr. Chen, may I ask what you did to the audience in the theater? Chen Guang looked at the tall white reporter with a hooked nose and smirked. I played a movie for them, and gave each of them a book that I wrote. That's all. Impossible. You must have done something shameful. You Wuxia people have always been like this. Chen Guang snorted. Do you dare to bet your grandmother's health on me? I can sue you for racial discrimination. The white reporter's expression changed. I'm sorry, I didn't choose the right words. But I think your movie is definitely not as perfect as they say it is. It's not realistic. What did you do to Madame Joshdan? Chen Guang was stunned at first. Madame Joshdan? Who? You actually don't know. Jenny Joshtyne, wife of Mr. Donald Joshtyne. She just came out of the theater. After a brief moment of confusion, Chen Guang's anger quickly overflowed. I really don't know. F.A. Alright, that despicable Joshdan. I thought it would be enough to block the reporters, but he actually let his wife sneak into the audience. Is he trying to attack me himself? Despicable. Shameless. The reporters and the other crew members looked at each other. For some reason, they suddenly had a strong urge to strangle this man. Too much, really too much. You can't pretend like that. Madame Joshtyne praises you to the heavens, and you call her despicable. Doesn't your conscience reproach you? But this also proved a terrifying fact. Chen Guang really didn't seem to have done anything. He didn't even know what had happened in the theater. No, Chen Guang from Wuxia. This is a recording of Madame Joshdan's interview that I just recorded with my phone. You can take a look. Chen Guang received the phone with doubt in his heart. But a brief moment later, his face had miraculously turned slightly red. Although it was quite comfortable to be praised, this kind-looking Madame Joshdan had praised him a little too much. Fortunately, he was thick-skinned enough. Anyone else would not have been able to take it. It was hard to believe that this was the wife of that sneaky old man Donald. This guy must have been a war doctor in his previous life. He must have saved at least 10,000 wounded people in World War II. He must have done a great service to be able to marry such a discerning and unique wife. Chen Guang, don't you feel ashamed? The reporter took the phone back and fired a shot at him. Chen Guang shrugged. Why should I feel ashamed? Do you think you can take such a heavy evaluation? Chen Guang looked at him, as if he was looking at an idiot. Why can't I take it? Have you seen my movies? Where did you get the right to speak? Suddenly, the long corridor fell silent. Hearing Chen Guang's tone, he actually accepted Madame Joshdan's crazy words. He felt no pressure, and felt that it was only natural. This meant that he really felt that he could suppress all the classic works in the history of the film industry. How arrogant! How arrogant! How arrogant and condescending! How belittling the heroes of the world! No, not only did he belittle the heroes of the world, but he also did not let go of the seniors of the film industry, who had passed away. Although they had always felt that this Wuxia man was especially arrogant, and had even been molded by public opinion into a devil who had suddenly appeared in the film industry. Many reporters were already mentally prepared for his possible attitude, but now they realized that they had been too optimistic about the situation. Or rather, this Wuxia man's arrogance was a little too exaggerated. Compared to his current performance, it was child's play for him to aim for an Oscar in his first movie. There was no limit to his arrogance. His arrogance and domineeringness had broken history, and his shamelessness had reached a new height of human shamelessness. Crazy, completely crazy. Have you eaten up the word modesty in your dictionary? Do you know what you're saying? Chen Guang instantly fell into a state of being criticized by thousands of people, but his expression did not change. He only looked at the crowd calmly. Are you guys done? His voice was very low, but it had an inexplicable majesty to it, causing the noisy corridor to return to silence in an instant. You guys are really strange. These words did not come from my own mouth, but from other people's evaluation of me and my work. Then, why are you guys questioning me here? Don't you think this is ridiculous? You guys have completely violated the professional ethics of a media person. You guys have been biased from the beginning, which is why you are saying such things to me now. The next show will start in half an hour. You haven't even watched it, so how can you judge my movie? It's just like how I have never seen your wife, but I say she is ugly. Will you be happy? After the premiere, even Joshdon's wife had become his die-hard fan. The movie's effect was better than he had imagined. Now, Chen Guang had more confidence in his words. He couldn't be bothered to be courteous with the reporters, and decisively started to act like a rooster. The hook-nosed reporter, who had been scolded by him, did not agree. Your accusation is without reason. In my heart, my wife is the most beautiful woman in the world, and my doubts about you are reasonable. You have never acted in a movie before. Yes, but there is an absolute relationship between love and appearance. I can't see what your wife looks like from your face. Your sophistry. You can understand it that way, but it doesn't matter. There are still 15 minutes to 10:30. I advise you to hurry up, or I'm afraid you won't be able to buy the tickets for the first screening. In fact, he was bragging. The attendance at the Wuxia Theater in Hollywood would probably be very good, but there was no hope for the other theaters to make a comeback, at least for today. If they were nimble, they could run out of the Wuxia Theater in 10 minutes to another large theater. It should be very easy to buy tickets there. After saying that, Chen Guang turned around and left. After taking 2 steps, he turned back again, took a deep breath and said heavily, "Anyway, you won't believe anything I say now. No matter if I am low-key or arrogant now, you will still write about me in the news tomorrow. So I will say it clearly. Yes, I do believe in one thing. You have to prick up your ears and listen carefully. My movie may not be perfect or the best, but my personal acting art will definitely be epic-making. Unprecedented. Enough to be recorded in the history books. Just like everything else I have done before. You'd better memorize every single word I said, because 100 years later, my words will appear in every film history course, in every film academy." After saying that, he really left this time, leaving behind a dumbfounded face of the media and other film producers. Their brains were completely shaken to the point that their worldview was about to collapse. Everyone felt that something was wrong. What this Wuxia man said was too exaggerated. But now, no one could find an angle to refute him. No matter how tricky it was, they couldn't find an angle. This guy's premier reputation was too terrifying. In the face of such a reputation, many people were unconvinced and felt uncomfortable. But as Chen Guang said, they didn't go to the cinema, so it was useless to say anything now. Many people felt a faint sense of regret in their hearts. If they had known this would happen, they would have directly applied for the tickets to his premiere as a media reporter. At the beginning, they shouldn't have shown such strong hostility to him, and even deliberately ignored his premiere in order to distance themselves from him. Now it was too late for regrets. They had missed the breaking point of the news. It was said that people in the same industry were enemies. The other film producers had even more complicated thoughts. They had a strong urge to see with their own eyes what the movie that was praised looked like. But although they were tempted, they were hesitant. The decision to boycott him was the consensus of the entire film industry. If they went to watch his movie, wouldn't it be like providing him with box office? They would be laughed at if the news spread. Wouldn't they be laughed at? What if he really used special means to make others praise him against their will? Wouldn't they become even more of a laughingstock? They were in pain and hesitated. They were extremely tempted by the amazing reputation of the premiere of Women. But they couldn't make up their minds because of various reasons. Until a reporter who went there to buy the tickets for the first public screening rushed back and shouted, "Friends who want to watch Women, you have to hurry up." Those celebrities who just went out, and even those medical experts are outside encouraging people to go to the cinema. It has already caused a sensation. Many people changed their minds at the last minute and decided to watch Women. The first public screening of this lousy movie in the Wuxia Theater is still in the number 14 screening room, and now there are only about 40 tickets left. Well, the person who was hesitating just now turned his head and forgot what he was thinking a second ago. Think again? If he thought again, he wouldn't be able to think anymore. Many big names in the media and other crew members rushed to the ticket counter crazily and almost started fighting. It was all because mobile phone apps were not popular in North America. Otherwise, everyone would be quietly competing for internet speed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.